Hey Comic Clan, and welcome to Comics in the Cross, the greatest streamers you have never heard of. Of course, I'm always one of your hosts, Cross, along with my co-host who is above me today, Nitro. Say hello to the lovely people, Nitro.
What's up, everybody?
And we are, of course, joined by some very special guests today. We are joined by... Oh, thank you so much for that, host, El Tommy. Glad you could be here today, brother. We are joined by some very special guests today. We are joined by Dr. Barron Bell, who's just up diagonally across from me there. As well as, and thank you ads for that host as well. All the hosts are coming in quick today. Thank you so much as well for joining us today, Mark Stancill, Dr. Barron Bell, the creator of the Minion comic. If you've been following me on social media, you've been seeing me post some of the artwork from that, along with Mark Stancill, coming from Terminus Media, the publishing house that is producing the comic. We are so thrilled to have them both with us here today. So excited for some great conversations. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Hey guys, what's up?
Thank you guys. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. So before we delve into some conversation, let me do some housekeeping, throw out all our general stuff, just get that out the road. Let me bring up Skeets. I'm still getting used to him. Stop making fun of me, all of you. So of course, first of all, is our sponsor, Gamer Grind Co., which is up above Dr. Bell there, the #1 coffee for gamers, hashtag on that grind. Go ahead and click on that link in chat to get yourself some absolutely amazing coffee. Do not forget to use Comics in the Cross in the checkout for 5% off. And as well as you're there, go ahead and pick up some of our merch that's there. We have a coffee mug and sticker available, so you know you want to go and get that, so why not? Of course, if you want to support the channel, you can sub to the channel now, which, big news, Nitro, we're up to 5 subs now. I don't know where that came from.
Nice.
Apparently been off for a week, we ended up with 5 subscribers, so there you go.
All right. We just got to take a week off more often.
Yeah,
apparently.
Heart growth longer.
Hey, that's it. If you don't want to support us through subbing or still want to support in some other way, you can click on that link there for our Patreon and support us for as low as $2 a month. The finances doesn't affect what we do. We're still going to be here rambling at you pretty much every week because, hey, we love doing it.
Yeah, we like to talk.
Exactly. So the finances just allow us to do some new and different stuff for you guys. Also as well, go ahead and check out our merch store over at Teespring. Get yourself some Comics and Cross merchandise.
Some leggings. I mean, go ahead and pick those up.
Nitro's a massive fan of our leggings. You can also pick up t-shirt, you can pick up a hoodie, you can pick up now kids t-shirts and baby onesies, because I've got a kid on the way and I thought, you know what, let's totally just absolutely put merchandise all over my child to advertise Comics and the Cross, because why not?
Absolutely. Why not?
Because why not?
Why not indeed?
If you have missed any of our previous episodes, you can catch them over on our YouTube. Thank you, Humor Whittle, for joining the Comic Clans. Thank you so much for coming in. Humor, if I'm correct, actually is one member of the One Geek 411 podcast, who, if you guys watched our social media, I'll be able to check them out next week, as they'll be guest hosting along with me on our show. So thank you so much for coming along and follow, Humor. I absolutely appreciate it. I'd love to announce you by your name. I'm not actually sure which member of One Geek 411 you are, so if you want to throw it in chat, that'd be absolutely great. And last one, you can go ahead and follow us on our social media and continue the conversation in our Discord on those links. I think I've thrown out pretty much every link possible, so it's taken care of. It's all done.
Out of the way. Cameron is Humor's name.
Cameron, there we go. Cameron is one of the consistent hosts and was one of the two-man team running One Geek 411, but they have literally added 2 more members to their team, who I don't think are all weekly members. They pop in every other week, I think. But you'll get to meet most of them next week, because apparently replacing Nitro, I felt we needed 4 people to do it. So
well,
that's the only way to replace him, is by getting a whole team of people in. But yeah, we are so excited to have One Geek 411 in next week. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but thank you so much for coming in and joining us. Thank you for everyone else who I have not seen in the chat. Well, the chat has blown up apart from me already.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So as I said, we have some very special guests with us today. I am so excited to delve into this conversation. I feel like I've just been seeing stuff of Dominion popping up in my social feed for like forever now. Since it randomly popped in one day, and I'm like, that looks really interesting, and then the more I just dove into this amazing world, the more it just caught my attention. Before we go into the comic itself, though, I'm going to hand over to Dr. Bell and over to Mark, and just to introduce themselves, to let us know who they are, and just to let you guys know who we've actually got on the show. So let's start with you, Dr. Bell or Barron, whichever one you want to go by. I'm probably going to switch between those two.
Yeah, you can use either or. I paid a lot of money for that doctor, so
that's why I feel like I need to say Dr. Bell, and I'm like, if I went through all that effort to become a doctor, if I'd done all that to become a doctor, it'd be like, yeah, I want to be called doctor too.
My friends call me Barron, so you guys are now my friends and my brothers.
Awesome.
Right?
Oh, thank you.
Sweet. You guys can call me Barron. Basically, my name is Dr. Barron Bell, and I am a professor of art and design for Liberty University and for George Fox University, a Christian university here in Portland, Oregon, where I live. I have the distinct pleasure of having created one of the very few master's level comic book publication courses in the country. At Liberty, they somehow allowed me to do that.
That's so awesome.
So that's kind of pretty amazing. And so being able to put, really high level, high quality Christian men and women into the comic book mindset and publishing is definitely one of the goals that I have always had when it comes to education, and just really looking at comics as an art form and also a form of discourse to engage the culture at large is really huge for me. So when I'm not publishing comics, yeah, that's what I do. I'm a college professor of art and design.
I feel completely underprepared to be hosting this show today. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just gonna go. It's like, yeah.
But Phil, you're cool because I'm wearing a Black Panther shirt. So
there we go.
Yeah, I'm a nerd.
There we go.
Just everybody's. I'm with
He's
you.
just a
we're all
doctor
cool. I'm a doctor nerd. There you go.
A doctor nerd. There you go.
There you go.
And then also to Mark as well. Mark, you're coming from a very different perspective. you're coming from the actual publishing house of Terminus Media. And so tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got wrapped up in this whole thing.
Absolutely. So if Dr. Bell is intimidating, I'll be very easy. My name's Mark, and I like hot dogs, and I like Star Wars. And, but I actually, I went to Moody Bible Institute back in the day. Have a degree in pastoral studies, and I'm also a data integration guy, and I started with some friends. We started this little thing called Terminus Media 16 years ago,
wow.
with a goal to let's see if we could make one comic book. Let's just see if we could do it. And we had no money, we had no resources, and we just did whatever we could with whatever we had. And we had some artists, we had some writers, and so we started back then, and over time we created a lot of books. And I met Dr. Bell at the Art Institute of Atlanta, may it rest in peace. And we just had a great conversation, and I think I was talking to the class about how to create a comic and about the business a little bit, and we just struck up a conversation and started talking about a little project called Radio Free America that that Barron had in his mind and in his heart. And so I was like, that's a great idea. Let's do that. So we did that book together, and Terminus kept growing, and we would go to these conventions, and people would say, we really like your comics. Will you create a comic for us? Then will you create some animation for us? So we did work for companies like the CDC. You may have heard of them recently. We did over an hour of animation for them, and Nitro tires and other things. But at the beginning of this past year, Barron and I were talking, and we kind of got the same message from God at the same time, that we really wanted to focus on faith and family friendly stuff. So that's really the direction that God is leading us to go, and that we're really excited about. And so we also started talking about a little project called Dominion, which is another one of those things that just blew my mind. When and Barron just throws these ideas out. I was thinking about blah 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 blah, and it just floored me, the idea, and how ambitious it was, and how it was right along the lines with the things that I felt God had been calling me to do, with my life and my career, and with Terminus Media. So that's me.
Awesome. I mean, that's absolutely amazing, and yeah, even the way you described Dominion kind of sums up how I felt when I first looked at it and I first seen it, and I'm like, I'd never really seen excuse me, I'd never really seen anything like it before.
Yeah, I feel like Cross and I have had this conversation before numerous times. Like, so as a Christian and as a comic fan, there's not a ton, I don't think, that is ton of storytelling, I guess, from a comics perspective that is like focused almost directly at us. Because I remember, getting into comics like into my late teens and my early 20s, like going into, not even knowing that there were Christian comics around at the time, but going into like the Christian bookstore or whatnot, and then seeing like, holy cow, they have a comic section. And then other than the Action Bible, and it was a pretty dry market. So
yeah, realizing they have a comic section. I'm like, no, they don't.
Yeah.
No,
so seeing
really
seeing actual like really high quality stuff told from a unique perspective as a Christian is really cool.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I've been into comic books pretty much my whole life. I've loved superheroes, I've loved comics, and when it comes to Christian comics, you either get like one of two choices. I always felt like you got here's a graphic representation of the literal biblical story,
literally, the literal
taken
story.
right out of the Bible, or it's this super corny, super cheesy, super
over the top,
airy, fluffy story. And I'm like, I mean, I remember like going into like the Christian bookstore near where I lived and finding a comic and getting so excited. And it was like, I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. It was Power Mark. It was like this Christian superhero dude.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, I've heard of it.
And like, it was so cheesy. The only cool thing about it was the fact that the villain had this really cool design. That was the only thing worthwhile in it. The rest of it was so bad. And it was like, and yeah, just always kind of figured like, you know, Christianity and love for comics is just always going to be separate things because there isn't a crossover.
Yeah.
You know, and then seeing Dominion and like, wait a minute, this is actually like a biblical based story.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid going to church.
Yeah.
And they would tell us these stories about, you know, Samson. And the first time I saw a Hulk comic, like I grew up in this independent fundamentalist Bible church where we don't smoke or chew or go with girls that do.
Pretty much.
And, you know, it was, I remember hearing these stories about Samson, who he killed how many guys with the jawbone of an axe?
Yeah.
Right? If you're reading in the King James version. I mean, this guy was a superhero. He was throwing it down.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I saw the Hulk, I would be like, hey, because I didn't grow up with comics, because, you know, the church I went to, they didn't even allow playing cards because they called it the devil's picture book. And, you know, it was kind of bizarre, and there's no dancing, and there's no, you know, you can watch only 2 or 3 shows on television. There was very much a wall between what was going on in the creative culture at the time, and, you know, we as Christians, we have to set ourselves apart from all of those things. And so I guess we were set apart from the good things and the bad things, just in case.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Sorry, I just want to jump
in
the chat.
And see, the thing is,
sorry, I just want to jump in with the chat, Barron, just before you go on. Just Birthday for Days coming in. How you doing? Comments to the cross. Seeing that he's doing well and just dropped in having some lunch at the moment. Thank you so much, Birthday, for coming in and just spending some time hanging out with us during your lunch break. Thank you, man. We appreciate it. Sorry, on you go, Barron. Sorry, I just wanted to catch the chat there as it was going by.
Yeah, no. Just like with what you guys are saying. Mark and I, we've been doing this for a minute, and even before I was with Mark, I was doing comics, and when I went to Regent University, which is where you guys are in Virginia. I got my master's in film and animation, and after I graduated, this was like 2000. I went out to LA to try to sell an animated TV series. And when I was out there, you know, mind you, I'm a Christian, trying to impact the world for Christ, and through entertainment. Found out that really wasn't the direction or the way I needed to go, because, you know, I mean, Hollywood is a grind. I mean, it really is a grind. You have to do a whole lot of work. You got to make a whole lot of connections and make those ends meet. Well, come to find out that, you know, it wasn't through my TV show that I was going to, you know, kind of brush that industry. It was actually through this little comic that I was developing called Cobalt Warrior Angel. I kind of got some attention from Warner Brothers based on what I was doing with that. But it did show me that, okay, there's something in here that God has to develop, and it's something that the world can love. And so through that, I kind of understood that, okay, I'm going to develop IP that can appeal to the masses. It's going to take some time of development, and God is going to mature me up as a man first, and do all of the things that I need to do creatively to get to that point. But I did know that it wasn't directly through movies. I knew it was going to be through comics. And so, because, you know, I'm a big nerd, by the way, guys. I'm a huge nerd. So through Cobalt and through ultimately Radio Free America, with which I met Mark. By the way, Radio Free America is, in a nutshell, Red Dawn meets The Wire. It's kind of like my World War III take using, you know, hip hop.
Nice.
It's like a urban hip hop apocalypse where, you know, a DJ in South Philly escapes to Canada after the Russians invade America, and then through a pirate radio station, he broadcasts code to resistance fighters through hip hop.
Oh, that's so cool. I saw the cover and it looked awesome because I saw him with the headphones.
Yeah,
like, that looks super interesting. I want to read that.
Let me go ahead and throw this in
it's
chat
fun.
then. So I'm just throwing it in chat here. If you want to pull it up at any point, you can put !point Dominion. And that'll bring up a link to the website for Terminus Media, where you can pre-order Chapter 1 of Dominion, which drops next month. But also you can find Radio Free America on there as well, just as we're talking about it. You can find all that stuff on the website. So I just wanted to throw that in there for everybody just to check it out if they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. My thing is, guys, and this is what you were getting at, Nitro, about going to a Christian bookstore and not seeing a comics selection. There's a few, the Archangels or Power Mark or the Action Bible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's up, Sergio? I know you're out there, the artist of the Action Bible, really cool dude. So the thing is, for me though, I knew that there is a way to make the two meet, the faith and the fandom. There's a way to do it. We just haven't cracked it yet. So through me doing Cobalt and through me doing Radio Free America, which in my kind of way, it's almost kind of like an allegory of the Exodus with, you know, the main character, his name is Moses. And so, you know, it's kind of like a rough allegory through hip hop, through apocalypse, through all this. It's a very, very, you know, kind of loosely based allegory of the Exodus. And so using kind of the Bible as a basis for archetypal characters and narrative storytelling, using the fundamentals of the Judeo-Christian faith, I wanted to construct stories that were elevated, so that we're not just, you know, rehashing, you know, swords and sandals all day, because that's been done over and over and over and over again. My thing, and this is what I wrote I did my master's thesis on this, about how you could actually have good quality family entertainment that is very lucrative and that is able to transcend all sorts of different strata in order to reach so many different people. And so me doing all of these projects up until Dominion was just, you know, me trying to crack the genome of how to actually do it. How do you do it and do it right? That it is entertaining, it is educational, it does reach your core market, but then it can explode out to other markets too. And so that's where kind of Dominion was germinating in all of that history, So it came to the point where, in Marcus Wright at the beginning of 2020, and even at late 2019, idea through the Holy Spirit kind of coalesced in my brain, and I said, you know what? I really, really love the story of the founding of the Kingdom of Israel. I really, really love the history books of the Bible. I love them. I keep going back to them. My wife always teases me, those are the only books you love. Yeah, because they're narrative. And, you know, to me, it's like, that's Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, if you really want, you don't really want to see the real of First Samuel, First Kings, because that's not PG at all.
No.
People getting their heads cut off, all sorts of stuff. And so I said, there's something there, but figure out how to crack the code, how to elevate it. How can I create something that is marketable IP that we can grow into something bigger? And so, you know, I'm a nerd. And so, you know, God took all of the stuff that I love. I love Star Wars. I love Narnia. I love Dune. I love Battlestar Galactica. I love Game of Thrones, even though I can't watch it. I love all of that stuff. And I'm like, okay, I want to create something that the family can watch, but that nerds could love. Those two things is what Dominion grew out of. And so then, of course, I love, you know, anthropomorphic characters, Thundercats, all of that. And so, you know, this all kind of came together at a head. And I don't know. I just came to Mark one day and I'm like, Mark, here's the idea. I know it sounds crazy. I know space lions and mechs and the story of the founding of the House of Saul and then its ultimate fall and all of this stuff. And it's like coming together in this really gigantic Shakespearean meets sci-fi epic that we call Dominion, Fall of the House of Saul.
So Dr. Bell, I know we talked about this a little bit before the podcast, but like I feel, coming from an art background, I went to school for art, I went to college, got my degree in studio art. I love the aesthetic of Dominion. I think it's really cool.
Thank you.
And I love the anthropomorphic stuff. I love that. Like, so did you always want it to be like, have like a sci-fi bend to it with the anthropomorphics like feel to it, or was that always the intention from the get-go?
Yeah, to tell you the truth, that aesthetic is 20 years old for me, over 20 years, because when I was at Regent, I was doing an animation called Sword of the Spirit, which was definitely more of an allegorical take on the Bible that had anthropomorphic characters. The other thing with animals, and this is something that I take directly from C.S. Lewis, is that there is something benign about an animal. An animal does not have a race. An animal does not have a culture. And so anyone can kind of relate to an animal more so than an actual person because of that very thing. And because of that, you're able to use animals to communicate very human truth. Is directly from C.S. Lewis. So being able, look at in the Bible, truth is communicated through animals at times. Look at Balaam and the mule or the donkey. You know what I'm saying? You have the very nature proclaiming the glory of God. You know what I'm saying? So there is something about animals that have always been intrigued. That has always been intriguing for me as ways to communicate very human truth. I mean, even look at some of the greatest cartoons that we grew up with, Bugs Bunny, Tom and Jerry. You know what I'm saying? The reason why those guys are so timeless is because of the fact that they're animals. They communicate very human truth, and in a lot of cases double entendre, because of course you can be a little child and love Bugs Bunny, but then again you can be an old cat and still like, oh yeah, I see what you did there. I see what, and so it's very cool, but I use that. I make use of it through building take the symbolism directly from the Bible, because you see that the Bible references Jesus as the Lion of the tribe of Judah. I started there. So the kingly lineage of Dominion, they're lions. You can take that from the Lion King as well. The Lion King is almost kind of like a derivative of the messianic story. And then you build from there a whole universe of an animal kingdom of all sorts of different animals representing different types of human traits in a lot of different ways.
Even the way that you did Samuel the priest as a crow, I thought that was really cool. Like, because you think of crows and you think of like a wise, just like wisdom, and having him portrayed as Samuel, I thought that was really cool.
It's funny you say that, because I was very, very intentional about using a crow for the Levitical priesthood, especially Samuel, because the thing is, when you initially think wisdom, you don't think a crow, you think an owl. Okay. As a matter of fact, I love the movie The Secret of Nimh back in the day. I'm not sure if you guys remember that. But the wise owl that Mrs. Brisby goes to, I think, I can't remember what the actor's name was, who played him. Very, very cool actor. He was old and he was ancient and he had spider webs for robes and he walked around, and that's kind of like what you think of when you think of wisdom. But I said, you know what though, I'm gonna take it and spin it a little bit, and I'm gonna make him a crow, because yes, you can get wisdom of a wise look from a crow, but you can also get this a little bit of mischievousness. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because crows, they know more than they let on.
Yeah.
And so Samuel is very, very wise, but Samuel has this kind of a snarkiness to him.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a playfulness about him.
Yeah.
Because when you first meet him in Dominion, he's chastising Saul for not following the command of the Almighty. This would be First Samuel chapter 15, where God told Saul to completely eradicate the Amalekites. He said, I want you to eradicate them. Saul decides to mostly eradicate them. He wanted to keep some of the choice things for himself. Eradicate-ish. And so when he doesn't do that, when he keeps these choice trophies and the king's alive, Agag is alive, Samuel takes Saul aside and he says to him, why didn't you follow the total command of the Lord? We call God the Almighty in Dominion. So Samuel says, the Almighty told you to completely destroy the Amalekites. And Saul says, oh no, well, I mean, I did destroy the Amalekites. I did. And Samuel's like, well, what is this? What do I hear in the background? This whine of enemy thrusters and landing craft instead of the bleating of sheep. So I kind of like take it and spin it a little bit. And so I do a little bit of kind of bending of the scripture in order to meet the story of Dominion. So it's not like an exact take. So there are a lot of ways that I actually depart from it, but I do stick to a lot of the main plot points.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like that scene, like, because I pre-ordered like Dominion pretty much when I first heard about it, and you sent out like the PDF of the sneak peek, and like reading that scene like between Saul and between Samuel, like that was me hooked. And, like that scene just played out so well, and I'm like,
it was awesome.
Like even the portrayal of Samuel and him as the crow, and I'm like, I totally invest. Like, yeah, that's exactly what I imagine Samuel would have been like, and that's exactly how he would have reacted. And that whole scene playing out was like, yeah, I'm in. I need to see what happens now. I need to see how this plays out. It's just such a cool take on it, and it's just such a great perspective on it.
I want Dominion to feel big.
Yeah.
Feel ancient. I want it to feel old. I want it to feel like, Star Wars feels old. I mean, Star Wars, you can trace Star Wars back thousands and thousands of years, back to the old Republic, and then before that. I want Dominion to feel just like that.
Yeah.
My thing is when the Lord gave me Dominion, something huge, because God doesn't do anything halfway. And so my thing is, Mark, it's like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it huge. If we're going to do this isn't just a Christian book that's just going to sit on a Christian bookshelf. No, this is going to be going up against DC, Marvel, ultimately Disney products. This is going to be able to sit next to, an X-Men or a Batman or whatever on a bookshelf. Yes, it is also appealing to my primary audience, which is Christian families. I'm not ashamed to say that. We are unequivocal about that. This is a Christian, this is a Judeo-Christian based book. It's in the title, Fall of the House of Saul. So we're not mincing anything. But we're here to say that we are just as good, if not better, than the stuff that's already out there. And our artwork tells you the truth.
Yes.
And the thing is, we don't do it unless we do it in excellence.
Yeah, Cameron in chat said, I love the point on stories being huge. So many good stories are a snapshot of a world, but there's more that you want to learn about. Yeah, just piggybacking off that, you said, Dr. Bell, you come from a background of film and animation. You come from that world. at least learning and stuff. I mean, you can tell in the comic, like the comic has like a cinematic feel to it.
Thank you.
Even the way that the panels are laid out, and like you have some of the characters like overlay onto other panels, like the top half of a side of a character will overlay into another panel. And it's just I love it. It almost has like a we're huge Jonathan Hickman fans. His Avengers run is probably one of the best runs.
Yeah, Jonathan Hickman.
Yeah,
amazing.
His run on the Avengers, the way that he just lets stuff breathe and like just let it breathe, let it take some time, let the story build slowly. You don't have to cram it in to people's faces. It definitely has that feel, and I love it.
If you read Hickman's House of X, Powers of 10, right, that's also something that's awesome. I mean, yeah, I love the way he tells stories. My background is in film. I spent a whole year in LA. Part of that time, I was doing storyboards for film and television. I've written scripts, many scripts. So I come from the cinematic background. So when I'm doing Dominion, I see Dominion as storyboards for potential film and television projects. So when you look at it, it's not a surprise that you actually see that there is a cinematic element to Dominion. And when I have my artists and I do the pencils for Dominion, so that means I do the initial storyboards for the piece. But then I have my inker and then my colorist, Chris, happen to be my former students, who basically I'm putting them through kind of like a boot camp. So they're learning, but they're also working at the same time.
Yeah.
As we're developing things, I'm leading them towards different resources.
That's so cool.
In order to perfect the look that we're trying to go for. So I tell my students, it's like, use reference as much as possible. And so when we're talking Dominion and we're talking the style, we're talking certain architectural style we're going for. So yes, there's high science, but then there's also ancient Ottoman kind of influences. There is Christian Byzantine influences. Especially, you guys haven't seen this yet, but there are certain scenes which are very Catholic, early Catholic Byzantine kind of influential architecture. The clothing and the costume is part Art Deco, part Victorian era. So there's a lot of different things that I reference, and I have my artists reference as far as color is concerned. We don't necessarily go from just our heads. No, I'm telling Chris, hey man, study the masters, study Caravaggio and Vermeer, and go back and Alphonse Mucha and Art Nouveau artists, Waterhouse. Yeah. So it's like here this is what I want you to reference. Don't worry about what people are doing now. No, you go back to the masters when you're dealing with light and color and tonality, and that's what you look at. And so there is almost a classical kind of a timeless feel that I'm going for with Dominion, and God willing we'll achieve it.
Yeah, because even the not just the way that the characters are laid out and the way that the panels are laid out, but the decor on the actual characters. Like I was looking at I don't know if I'm probably gonna murder her name, but Queen Anihim.
Okay, here's this is a lesson. This is a lesson that I'm gonna give everybody, and I do this on the page. I spell it out phonetically because the thing is, heroines. This is what we're doing in Dominion, is trying to give them more shine time and make them real women heroines. Unfortunately, a Henoim, she's the queen. She's referenced maybe once or twice in the biblical text, And so I had to kind of like figure out, okay, well, how do I say this name? And then once I learned how to say it, it's like, okay, I have to teach people this is a Henoam. This was a real person.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the women in scripture a lot of times did not really get a whole lot of shine time, and they really deserve a whole lot more. But I'm sorry, what were you saying?
No worries. I appreciate that. Just the headdress that she's wearing in one of the sketches that you've done, like just how ornate it is, and just the decorations on it, and it's very regal. But it's so beautiful. It's awesome. I love the style.
That's the Art Deco influence.
Yeah.
And at a certain point in time in my past, I wanted to be a fashion designer.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of that is coming through in the costume design of Dominion as well. So I love kind of like just the adornments and the accessories and all. I love those things because it kind of like adds story to their whole look. You can kind of tell that there's something more to a person. You see a certain type of chain that they wear, or the fact that a Henoam, when I look at a Henoam, one of the things that I was very inspired by, and you guys out there who may have not loved the prequels of Star Wars Episode 1, 2, and 3, you could at least appreciate the costume design because especially with Queen Amidala, I was very, very taken by her costume design. So some of that influenced. I look at Henoam because she is regal, she's ornate. They call her the Golden Queen of Dominion. Because the subjects revere her so much because she's so good and pure and loving, kind of like a contrast to King Saul, actually. But and then also, if you look at history, Queen Nefertiti as well. If you look at art history, how regal she was and ornate and beautiful she was. I use that as a point for Queen Henoam as well.
Yeah, I think sometimes we can get closer to the truth of the situation with something like a comic book. I'm again in Sunday school with the flannel graphs. I don't know if you guys know what flannel graphs are.
I feel like we went to the same church.
Yeah. That's about as creative as it got, and but there's a lot of creativity. I remember they used puppets and other things like that in church, which I always loved. Whenever the more creative they got, the happier I was as a kid.
Yeah.
Because I was a creative kid, and when you look at the situation in that beginning of Dominion, where the prophet shows up and he's like, "What's up? What's up, King Saul? Why did you not obey what the Almighty commanded?" And he took charge of the situation, and I can't wait for you to see the panels of him taking care of the situation. It's one of my favorite panels in this chapter of the book. But I think about where in C.S. Lewis and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, when Susan is concerned about meeting Aslan, the lion, right? She asks, "Is he safe?" And the beaver says, "Who said anything about safe? Of course he isn't safe, but he's good. He's the king, I tell you." We sometimes we forget who the Almighty is. And when the Almighty told Saul, "Destroy them utterly," in the King James, you have to process this in your mind. And the Almighty said, "Men, women, children, animals, everything, utterly destroy it." And you ask, why? Why would the Almighty command this?
Yeah.
And that's really that meditating on that is there's so much there. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we don't pull punches. Yes, this is family friendly, of course. I want parents to sit down with their kids and read Dominion together. Then back to the actual biblical text. Dominion is a tragedy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the fall of the House of Saul, this is a tragedy. This is like a Shakespearean tragedy. It's like slowly watching the decline and the spiral into madness of a king, making horrible decisions that affect his whole family. But what we do in Dominion is we take the plot points of the story of First and Second Samuel, and then First and Second Kings, and we fill in some of the blanks of the narrative by elevating characters like Michael, like Ahinoam, and taking them and building whole narratives based on these characters that you really only get little bits and pieces of from the narrative. So we kind of, you know, develop new narrative based on what we start with, but we do hit the plot points. You know, you do see King Saul continue to spiral into madness. You do see him get affected by a spirit. You do see ultimately David come into the picture. So there are plot points. We meet the plot points, but the story is decidedly different. We do take larger scope and a larger view, the family dynamic of what's happening in Saul's house, and how his relationship is with his son, or his relationship is with the daughter, and then the mother and the son. So there are a lot of things that, you know, we have a co-writer who just came on, Daniel Hancock, who is helping us kind of flesh out the triangulation between the characters and their dynamic, because we're creating a new story, but we're just using the old plot points.
Speaking of David, I'm super excited to see how you do the Goliath. Knowing what you've done so far, I'm really excited to see what you do with that. And his relationship with Saul.
Always ask me about that.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, Nitro. You know,
go ahead.
Because I just wanted to say, anything going on with that, Barron? You know, Goliath, David. You know, not to push you or anything, but
you know what? You know, here's the thing, and just for your audience sake, you know, our plan for the books, we have the fall of the House of Saul, which takes over the beginning of that story takes place in 3 28-page books. That's going to be between now and the beginning of Q1 2021. So we got 3 books coming out. That'll be released as a trade. Then roll into going through 2021. So there'll be 3 books in 2021, and then we're going to go into House Solomon 22.
Okay.
So we have these, and that's as far as that's as far as we're going at the moment. But it's a huge sweeping epic. But David is being planned right now.
Awesome.
You know, in the same context. So you're going to see the mechs, and you're going to see the spaceships in the battle, interstellar battle, and all of that. It's the same context. It's Dominion, and so it is just like Star Wars in that way, where, you know, you see this. It's a space opera. You know what I'm saying? So it's sweeping. It's epic in scale and scope. And that influences the designs. I mean, if you go on the website, terminusmedia.com/Dominion, you're going to see I have a lot of artwork up there, and you cross, just like you were saying. I mean, you're seeing a whole lot of artwork going through social media. I don't hold back. You know, as far as it goes, we're different from a lot of other publishers because we don't worry about sharing work. I mean, people need to see what we're doing. Yeah. And so, you know, you'll see, like, you know, I have the schematics for the Seraphim armor on there, you know what I'm saying? And I have all sorts of different types of, character designs and model sheets. And, so we put it all out there.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Seraphim armor looks sweet, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, like, the stuff I shared in our social media, if any of you follow, like, us on social media, like, the stuff I shared from Dominion were, like, finished artworks and finished pages. But, like, if you go to the Dominion pages, let me put the link in the now. Dominion social. I mean, if you go to the, helps if Paul can actually spell. There we go. If you actually go to the social media pages, then, like, you'll see there's a lot more to it. Like, there's so many sketches, there's so many, like, behind the scenes stuff, there's so much in-depth look at the creation of these comics, stuff that you don't generally get from a lot of other publishers or creators, or you'll see like finished artwork in some that they're working on, but like you've given a wide open perspective on the creation of this. Like, you've invited everyone to follow along in this journey of Dominion with you.
Well, we're educators too. You know what I'm saying? So that's part of our mandate. Our part of Terminus Media's mandate is to educate and enlighten and entertain. That's what we do. And so, part of that is sharing what we do. We have a podcast where we talk about the behind the scenes of the making of our book, and we share weekly updates on, okay, what's going on behind the scenes. We bring on our writers and our artists and other people. Like we just had, our marketing guy to talk about pyro marketing and how do you actually get your book to the masses so that you can maximize your profit on getting your book out there. So it's not just for us to share Dominion stuff, but also just the mechanics of comics and the industry and publishing. So so you're right about that. We don't mind sharing. We're trying to build more book creators.
Absolutely.
Perspective who can actually get out there in the world and share good stories that are not just shreds of old stuff, but new and inventive ways of reaching the masses to tell interesting stories, build interesting characters that have people asking questions. And that's really where the evangelism happens. It happens at building relationships and having people ask questions. It's not about, because we're not God. You know what I'm saying? It's not our job to save anybody. Our job is to build relationships that lead people to Christ.
Absolutely. I just want to catch up with the chat. We've had a few kind of comments and stuff coming in, and didn't want to get in the road of that. It was such amazing information there. It's so Cameron again from OneGeek411 agreeing with you on the prequels for Star Wars, says costumes and the music are the best part of the prequels. As does CV No Pro. I completely agree. Let me do a couple of shout outs for them. They are some friends of the channel. Go and check out their pages. And then we also had a sub come in, so thank you so much for Bob Thracer, long time friend of the channel, giving us another sub there. Thank you so much, Bob. We appreciate that. Let me make sure those shout outs went through. Yep. Alright, we did have an interesting comment come in I wanted to mention from Rafe Anderson. I don't even know if he's still in the chat. He said, because all men are guilty before God and he is the king, he has the right to take life when and how he chooses.
That goes back to the comment, Mark, that you were saying about why would God ask someone to totally eradicate, including women, men, and children.
And animals and etc.
Yeah, and I wanted to just address that because I don't know your background, Rafe. I don't know if you're a Christian, if you're aware of the story and the context around about it or whatever, but I did want to give a little clarity on that. Like, first of all, all four of us here in the chat are Christian. All four of us here in this conversation are Christians. We believe Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, died for our sins. I do believe that the only one that has the right to take any life is God. He's the one that chooses when our last day is. He's the one that chooses when the end of our time is. In the context of a situation like that with the Amalekites and telling Saul to basically annihilate them, to wipe them all out. If you continue the story on from where it takes off there when Samuel chastises Saul for not doing that, you can look at Saul as being the king who, he showed some mercy and just go ahead and imprison the king. That kind of like what we do in our everyday life, God has a reason for everything. There's a reason for why God tells us to do stuff, and the reason that he told Saul to annihilate the Amalekites was because if he didn't, they were going to rise back up and become a threat towards Israel, which is exactly what they did. Because they left the king alive, he was able to round up his army again. They were able to become a threat towards Israel again, and it was a threat that didn't need to take place if Saul had done what God had told him to do.
And if reading Dominion makes the reader say, what is the real story? What is the historical count in the biblical text that correlates with Dominion? If Dominion only accomplishes that one thing to make the comic book reader say, I want to go back to the source material. I want to read it. I want to understand it in a deep way. Then, as far as I'm concerned, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Because the Bible says about itself, or God says, "My word will not return to me void."
Mm-hmm.
It always does something good for the reader, and for me, it made me go back to the text. And from on another quick thing, from a publisher's perspective, we will never run out of source material like the Game of Thrones people.
Yeah.
Like the Star Wars guys are like, well, George Lucas he's going off on the red herring again. What are we going to do? The biblical text is there, the source material that we will never run out of. That we will. Oh, they're doing another version of Dominion. 100 years from now. Great. Yeah. Great. We never run out of source material. But back to the why would the Almighty command this? One of the commandments is thou shalt have no other God before me, and the Almighty is serious about that. And the Amalekites worshipped other gods. If you intermarry with them, guess what you'll start doing? You'll start worshiping other gods. Yeah. And so how seriously does the Almighty take this? Very seriously. And so understanding that heavenly perspective that sometimes can be different from ours, we take different things seriously than God takes them. But understanding, getting to a deeper understanding of what the biblical text says, and really thinking about it is one of the goals that we have with this. So.
I've heard it say, like, a lot of times, like, we are the only Bible someone will ever read. So, like, being able to, like, approaching someone who is never going to open the Bible, like, it's just not going to happen. Yeah. They don't own one. They're not going to get one. They're not going to read it. But being able to approach them from a different perspective with something that they would actually enjoy, because the Bible is full of, like, the imagery that, it sparks in your brain. There's some crazy stuff in the Bible, like, crazy stuff. Yeah. Especially in the book of Revelation. It's nuts.
Oh yeah.
But like being able to like bring that to life and allowing people to see that and just coming at it from a different perspective, I think is awesome.
All right. So I just want to catch up the last bit.
It's interesting. It's interesting you say that, Nitro. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm just going to catch up with a little bit of the chat here once you say your piece, Barron, and then I've got a question for Mark. But go ahead. Say what you were going to say. Absolutely.
Yeah. What I was saying, Nitro, is that to be quite honest, this is one of the very few Christian podcasts that I've been on. Most of the podcasts have been secular geek, cursing, swearing podcasts because they like the story. Mm-hmm. And my thing is, and this is the message I have to Christian entertainers, is tell a good story, man. Yeah. Just tell a good story. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if they decide to become a Christian based on your story. That's not on you, man. Your job is to tell a good story, to get people intrigued. If no one ever decides to go back and read the biblical text based on Dominion, I'm cool with that, as long as the questions can be asked by even like one person. If one person asks that question, then the Lord's word has not returned void. But if everyone else just had an exciting time reading the story so much that they want to tell their friends, and they tell their friends, and they tell their friends, that is a positive. Yeah. That's a positive. That's increasing the opportunity for us to build relationships. And we build relationships at Terminus one reader at a time. Mm-hmm. That's what we do. We answer all of our social media, all of it. And so one reader at a time, I don't care where it goes. If they decide to ask more questions about Dominion, which leads to biblical conversations, and I've had some really good biblical conversations with a lot of non-believers. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. If they just want to geek out about the mech suits, you know what I'm saying? I had another great conversation about the mechanics of the Seraphim armor, and Mark and I were going to have a discussion about that on our next podcast. That's cool too. If you want to see the parallels between, Palpatine and King Saul, that's cool. We can talk about the parallels between Palpatine and King Saul. That's cool. I don't care.
Use your aggressive feeling, boy.
Let's exactly.
I feel like I need a hood.
Let's just have fun. You know what I'm saying? Let's just enjoy this fandom and this culture of comics and all that. And God will do the rest. I don't have to worry about that. I just need to tell a good story based on the Bible.
All right, let me just catch up with the chat here. Bob Thrace were just talking about the Again, I think about the artwork, if I'm right, just saying that it's dope. Bursted for Days saying the sketches are amazing. Bob Thracer again agreeing, saying they're very clean. It looks like Bursted for Days is looking to pre-order it, so awesome. I'm sure they'll greatly appreciate that, Bursted. And then we have Rafi Anderson commenting back again, saying, I was speaking to the foundational reason why God can do that, the biblical foundation for that. If I cause confusion, I'm sorry. No problem. Thank you for kind of clarifying for us. It's always hard to know the context when you're getting it in chat like that, so if we misread that, apologies, but yeah, we just want to make sure there's no kind of confusion for that. I do want to shoot a question now to you, to Mark. We've heard Barron talking absolutely and completely here about this grand scale epic of Dominion, and it sounds phenomenal. From the stuff we've seen, it is phenomenal. Coming from the publisher standpoint, how did you feel when he first came to you with this idea? Because if you look at the stuff for Radio Free America, you can see that on the website if you check out the pictures of that. Oh, there we go, got it right there. Radio Free America, which I absolutely, having looked into it myself, I definitely want to pick that up as well. It looks amazing, and from hearing you talk about it, it looks like an amazing story as well. But to go from something like that, which seems a lot smaller scale, to this great epic of Dominion, which is a great epic within itself, the fall of the House of Saul. But even that explanation of oh yeah, then we're going to go into King David. And then we'll go into King Solomon. I'm because we've not challenged ourselves enough in one king that we're going to do all three of these kings in a row. Just three of the biggest kings in the Bible with these epic stories that just get bigger and bigger as they go. What was your perspective on that, and how did you feel him coming to that, and how did it go about this coming around from your perspective? Because I've no doubt Barron was completely passionate and excited about it. But you're the publisher that's got to make it happen.
Well, there's two perspectives on that. There's kind of the human perspective where you go, "Ooh, that's an idea right there," and your mind starts making calculations. Okay, how much would this cost? What would we be able to do with this? What partners do we have who would be interested in working on? What would because we're an animation company, what would the animation be like? Ooh, that would be some heavy duty stuff in terms of animation. So there's that human perspective, but I think there's only one question that really matters. Is this something that God has called us to do? Yes or no?
Exactly.
Right? Because you get up in the morning and you may feel like I feel like I'm gonna have a bologna sandwich today. That's very different than God has called me to do this. Right? So Dominion is not really something we feel like doing. Dominion is a calling. We prayed about it, we talked about it, and we feel like this is something God has called us to do. Now, when God calls you to do something, he provides the resources, right? He told Abraham, hey, Abraham, leave the place where everything's comfortable, where everything's predictable, where you have water and food and where everything is. I want you to leave that, and I want you to go to this other place. What other place is that? Don't worry about it. I'll show you. Right? God calls us to these sorts of things. He says, go, do this, and I'll provide what you need along the way. And we have to trust him. We have to say, we don't know exactly how all this is going to get done. But if God has called us to do it and we're obedient to what God has called us to do, unlike Saul, who would never do what the Almighty told him to do, and the Almighty withdrew his hand and his blessing from Saul, right? Well, we don't want that to happen to Dominion, so we're just going to keep being obedient. We're just going to keep doing what God has called us to do. And the other part of that, though, on a human level, I've worked with Barron before. In the past with Radio Free America and other things, and this is critical for creative people. There's a lot of creative people out there who have dreams and I'm going to do all of these things and I'm really working on it, right? And they've been working on it for 20 years now, and it's never going to happen. and you ask them why, and they're like, well, I just don't have any money, and I don't have this, and I don't have that. I worked with Barron before. He's a loved brother of mine, and I know that when Barron says, "Hey, man, I'm going to do this," that he's going to do it.
Yeah.
So if you're partnering with other people, whether you're doing a podcast or making a film, making a comic book, whatever it is, make sure that you're partnering with, you're working with people who are working. That everybody in the boat has got oars and they're moving the boat downstream or upstream or whatever. So I know Barron. I know that Barron has a heart for God, and we have a great relationship of mutual respect. So that's a piece of the puzzle as well.
Hey, Mark, can you talk a little bit about, because I was reading up a bit about Terminus before the podcast, and you guys, prior to I think 2019, you guys worked on both secular and Christian centric, family centric work. But I think right around, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but right around 2019ish, maybe last year, you kind of made the switch to focus only on like family and Christ-centered like stories. Can you walk us through like that decision process and what that was like and all that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think part of it was feeling like we were doing things, and we're kind of like, you ever watch kindergartners play soccer? When kindergartners play soccer, they all sort of chase the ball around.
Yeah.
Right. And after 15 years of making comics and animation, I felt like we were kind of like that. We are trying to always chase what's the latest thing? What are people interested in? What should we do? What's going to make money? But that's, when it comes down to it, that's not very satisfying. You end up going, well, we created a whole bunch of cool stuff, but so what? From a perspective of a believer, God has called us to shine a light and to be authentic, to be ourselves. And I know I felt like I couldn't really be myself in terms of what the things that I was involved in creatively.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to be too preachy with people, and we don't want to be preachy with people. We want to entertain, enlighten.
Yeah.
We want to educate, but we also want to be authentic. I'm a believer. I believe that the Bible is true. I believe that the Bible is profitable, that it's a good thing. There's people out there today that think the Bible is bad, that it's harmful, that it is a negative thing. So I just want
I think if I can add just another thing, Nitro. The thing is, when I joined Terminus, Terminus had several projects, several books, properties that they were working on. And Radio Free America became one of those many different properties. But the thing is, it's like Terminus had a little bit of a little pot everything had to draw from.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you're hustling, going to comic book conventions, going to San Diego Comic-Con, going to New York Comic-Con, going to Dragon Con, paying for all of these different things, and then having to put money into printing all sorts of different books and all of that other stuff. And there's no real profit coming from all that. You're just spending money. You're just spending. And so when we made the decision to turn that corner for Terminus, we decided all that other stuff that's not glorifying to God, build Terminus 2.0 based on two books. One is Dominion, and the other is Ascension, which is a book Mark is headlining, piloting, and then let God rebuild Terminus stronger platform based on these two really strong IP can grow and spawn other other things. As good IP does. If you have really good IP like Star Wars or Batman or whatever, it spawns all sorts of different offshoots based off of that IP. So you build two really, it's like cut away all that other mess that just wasn't selling and whatever, and you put in good money after bad. Solid stories that you can build IP off of, then that's the foundation for growth. And it's something that God can bless. And yes, we're Christians, but we're also business people too. And so it's like you can't put good money after bad. After a while, it's like you have to cut your losses, rebuild, restructure, or just stop and do something different.
There's a lot of power in focus, right? If you focus on when Steve Jobs came back to Apple, there were, I think, 27 products that they were trying to develop and sell. He cut it down to 3. We're going to do these 3 things, and we're going to do these three things the best in the world. And it totally changed the company for the better. So this is really about focusing and again, asking the question, Lord, what would you have us do? Right? Because if we do the things that the Almighty has asked us to do, He's gonna bless it. He's gonna make it successful. And
I haven't read the byline for Ascension, and being a huge UFO fan and superhero fan, it sounds awesome. So
what can you tell us about Ascension, if you can give us a little kind of preview for that as well, since that's your other big kind of IP?
Ascension is a story about a boy who the core of it is let me see. Ascension is really about a boy whose parents are like special forces missionaries, right? They're scientists and they're also people of faith. And there's a UFO crash in the former Soviet Union that the scientists are sent to study, but they soon find out it's the crash is not caused by anything that's physical. And so the people in the village nearby start having nightmares. They start having really darkness descends upon the village, and this kid's parents are called over there to help. And so it's about how he sort of is left alone with grandma, and he's going to a new school, and he's trying to be as invisible as possible so he doesn't get picked on. And but it's really about him sort of being drafted into service. He's a Christian kid, but he's like, I'm just a kid, I can't do anything. But his parents are quickly overwhelmed in their mission overseas, and he's sort of drafted into service. And for him to be able to become the warrior that God wants him to be, he has to start training, and he has to start learning and being equipped for the battle. So that's what Ascension is. It's about.
And there's a supernatural component, because it's not just regular physical battle. No, he actually is drafted by angels.
Nice. That's awesome.
To fight the spiritual battle in a semi-physical context. And so there is armor that he has to learn how to wield, and
that's so cool.
And spiritual weapons that manifest in a semi-physical form. And so he's learning how to go and save his family through the help of these angels who have been fighting this eons long war, and it's now just starting to spill over into the physical realm.
And visually, if you take the armor of God, remember they had that flannel graph for that. They'd always show you like Roman armor. This is kind of like if you picture the armor of God in a hyper anime style sort of thing.
And I understand you're an anime fan. You're a huge anime fan, right? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Same.
Absolutely. So it's again taking an old biblical concept and presenting it in a different way, and in a culturally relevant way to because we want our audience to say, what is that? What does that mean?
Well, see, in the visual aesthetic of Ascension is going to be different from Dominion because it's going to have that kind of an anime feel to it. So you know, it can appeal to you know, these young kids who love Attack on Titan or
Akira and all that.
Akira and all that. So it's like, we have that feel to it, and it's going to be kind of cool because I love that stuff too.
These young kids are these 37-year-old men that's sitting above me that.
Akira is probably one of my favorite animes of all time. So, and Miyazaki is awesome. So,
do we have
Cowboy Bebop?
Do we have like a release date or a schedule for that? Is that one still just kind of in production? Because I know we've got like a release date kind of idea for Dominion. Is there one for Ascension, or is that still just being worked on?
Well, the script is wrapped on that one, and we have been working on concept art, trying to figure out what the look is going to be, and becoming more specific on that. And so we're still solidifying the creative team on that, and because it's because of the look that we're going for. The team that we work with is important, but it's also important to us that the team that works on this are believers.
Yeah,
because when a believer is working on something, it's going to be Holy Spirit powered.
That's right.
And the work is going to be worship. It's going to be something that we give our best to God. That's right. Because only our best is the only thing we're going to give God is our best.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going for Dominion.
That's another thing I really want to stress, guys, is that, you know, with Terminus, we really seek to work with believers. But the thing is, it's like, I don't think that art has been a huge emphasis in the church.
It has not.
And so we are woefully behind the curve as far as training is concerned. That's why I developed these classes at Liberty and at George Fox, because it's like, okay, listen, I worked in Hollywood. I know the level of excellence that's required. I'm a Christian as well. I know the level of excellence that God requires. For some reason, we as Christians have ceded the territory. We have ceded the entertainment realm, the battlefield, to Satan.
Yep. And
so that's why we're way behind the curve.
Yeah.
And so now there's a movement of Christian creatives that is coming out at a very extremely high level in comics, in music. Look at Kanye West. Look at 3D animation. And so Terminus is a part of that upswell of talent that is raising itself to meet the time. And we're taking back that battlefield. So, and you know, you can see proof because Dominion can stand toe to toe with anybody. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what we're doing. But my thing is putting a call out to artists practice. In a lot of Christian artists recently, because of course we're just kind of actively scouting, and it's like the training just isn't there. It's like you gotta practice. You gotta look at what's in front of you, draw what you see, not what you think you see. Use visual reference.
Yeah, that was a question that I had.
Study the light. All of that. Yes, go ahead.
Like, I mean, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that was a question I had. So, like, as someone who enjoys art and who also happens to be a Christian and maybe wants to pursue that down the road in some form, shape, or fashion, like, your biggest advice is you just got to grind and practice.
Practice. Listen, figure drawing. Yeah. You know, if I can get that across to Christian graphic artists or artists in general, figure drawing, figure drawing, perspective, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point perspective, color theory. Learn some color theory, man. Yeah. You understand? I think what's happening is that a lot of these artists, they're using reference from comic books. Comic books are abstractions of reality. Yeah. So you're seeing an artist's rendition of reality and not the real thing. And so you're seeing their portrayal of humanity. If you're looking at Rob Liefeld, figure drawing, you need to go back to basics, man. Yeah. I mean, because the thing is like Rob Liefeld, Listen, learn how to draw feet. You know what I'm saying? So for instance, I mean, listen, one of the things I invested in was one of these things right here.
Yeah.
The little kind of a human figure that you can pose and all of that. And you know, the thing is, it's like when you have something like this, can kind of look at it on, you know, kind of get your low angle views of, okay, this is how to draw someone from a low angle, or you know what I'm saying? So you know, action pose. Pictures of yourself in different poses. Take pictures of your face. People are commenting on Dominion's faces. Why? Because I use my face. I take pictures of my face in different poses because I'm drawing from life. I'm drawing from reality. I can't tell Christians enough. Stop drawing from comic books. Stop drawing from animation. Stop it right now.
Especially Rob Liefeld comics.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's
go outside.
I feel like Barron should be wearing a brown hood, you know, you know, pull out your lightsaber, you know.
That's a really
there you go. Yes. There you go.
That's a really good point, Dr. Bell. Though that's a really good point because we were always taught, and I don't want to derail the conversation too much, but you know, in art school we were always taught, you know, draw from life. And if you really go outside and you take a look at nature, like you legitimately like really look. You look at a tree, for instance, like obviously it's green and brown for the trunk, but if you really go in hard and you look at the actual colors that are displayed in nature, like you got purples, you got blues, you got weird colors in some trees. If you really, really look, and you know, again, going back to your comic,
you're
like,
so right. Listen, one of my acquaintances in the industry, his name is Ryan Benjamin. Okay. Ryan, look up some of his stuff. Okay, Ryan Benjamin, he did he's an old school comic book G, and he was at Image Comics early on. Homeboy, you know, did the first Batman Beyond comic. He worked in Black Panther, all of that. He worked on doing storyboards for Spider-Man cartoon, all of that. Vampire Hunter D.
Yeah.
The dude is doing it. And the thing about Ryan is the one thing, and he tells this really, really good story about how he got picked up with Image and Marvel, is that he would submit his artwork. They would say, "Do it again." He didn't get discouraged. He submitted again. Try to this, fix this here, fix this there, whatever. Send it back to him. He would get discouraged, but he would not quit. And so they would give him the notes. He would take the notes. He would improve his skill, and then keep resubmitting. He would never take no for an answer. The thing about it is, if you have a talent, just like with Michael Jordan with basketball, or with I don't know, any talent, Serena Williams, Venus and Serena, Tiger Woods, you have to eat, sleep, drink that skill. Want to be an artist? Get a sketchbook. Take your hand, draw your hand 100 times in different poses. Draw it in perspective. Saying that's how you get better. That's how you improve. You have to live with it. You know what I'm saying? I draw every day, and Mark will tell you, and you guys will see on the website. I draw I submit through Twitter, through Instagram, artwork daily, because I love this stuff, but I want to improve. And you'll even see over the course when Dominion is released, nice little Easter egg, you'll see that from beginning of Dominion to the end of Dominion Chapter 1, the artwork improves.
That's so cool.
Right? Because I'm constantly improving. My team is constantly improving. We are always looking for reference to improve our color theory, our line work, the whole nine. And as a professor of art, that's what you do. You have to just continue to draw what's in front of you. If you're not good at perspective, guess what? You have to just start practicing.
Yeah.
And referencing. And if anyone has any questions about art, I'm sorry to monopolize this about art, but if anyone has any questions, please feel free to submit through our website. You know what I'm saying? Go to the website, go to the contact page, submit questions. We'll answer whatever questions. I'm a teacher, so that's what I do.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and guys, you can find them on social media. I just dropped a bunch of them in the chat there, so you can find it, and I'll put the website in again as well. So if you want to reach out
the question I would ask is what is your thing? What do you do? Because whatever you do as a human being, whatever gifts that God has given you, hey, use those gifts. Yeah. Do your thing, and whatever your thing is, God gave you those gifts for a reason. And so yeah.
That's like honestly a great point. Is like, what is your skill? Like, you know, like obviously Barron and Nitro, their skills definitely are. It's like, as we've heard from the conversation, they're both massive in it. But what is your passion? What is your skill? What do you have a heart for? You know, and you know, especially if you're a Christian, God's gave you that for a reason. Yeah. You know, even if you're not a Christian, God's gave you that for a reason. You've been given a skill for a purpose. You know, and don't be discouraged, I would say, as well, by how ridiculous your dream sounds. Like, you know, I'm this guy from another country that's very introverted, and here I am, like, basically talking on a mic week in and week out, streaming. This was never in my plan. This was never what I thought I'd be doing. Would be hosting a podcast and talking to people and talking about comics with people, and never had I planned this in my life. And here I am doing it, and I love it. I love doing this. Like, I this is one of my highlights of my week, is getting to come on and talk with Nitro, and getting to come on and talk with our guests and interact with our chat and our community. It's like, it's phenomenal. And you know, that gift of conversation and chat I try to use to the best, because I know God gave me that for a reason. You know, it's like whatever yours is, and if you guys don't know what it is, like, you know, start asking yourself that question, like, what do I love to do? What am I passionate about? What am I capable of doing? What skills do I have, or do I want to learn?
Yeah, and this is the story of the way that we relate with God sometimes. You know, he goes to Moses and he says, hey, Moses, I want you to go back to Egypt, where, you know, you had to run away because you killed somebody, but I want you to go back there, and I want you to, you know, lead the children of Israel. And he's like, oh no, I can't talk. I stutter. And he says, hey, Joshua, you know, I want you to follow up the great successful leader that Moses ended up being. And Joshua says the same thing. He's like, maybe you got the wrong guy here. But God always calls us out of our comfort zone. He says, Amen. He says, you know, Jesus calls his disciples and he says, hey, follow me. And okay, I can do that. And and you know, God takes us places that we would have never gone otherwise.
It's funny you say that. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No,
just
go ahead.
Real quick. We need more skilled Christians in entertainment. I mean, honestly, guys, I just can't stress it enough. We need more directors. We need more producers. We need more comic book artists. We need more just talent writers, but skilled. You know what I'm saying? Not, yes, having the passion for God is one thing, but having the skill is what separates you from an amateur.
Yeah, not good for Christians, but good. Yeah.
You just can't be Christian good. You know what I'm saying? Just be good.
Just be good.
That's not a high benchmark in the summer race. It's really not.
I'm sorry, Nitro. You were going to say.
No, I was going to say, going off of what Mark was saying earlier, like, just being able to approach God different ways. Like, he's not like obviously we go through his son to access him through Jesus Christ, but like, he gives us gifts for a reason. Like, I met a friend one time. I was working at a bank a while ago, and I met him, and he happened to be a Christian, and he happened to do art. And I remember him telling me this one time, and it blew my mind, because I come from a very conservative, very almost slightly legalistic background. And he was like, I'm not really good at praying, but like when I'm doing art and I'm doing that, that's like me, like talking, that's me communing with God. And I was like, dude, I never thought of it like that way. That's just, it blew my mind, because you are using the skill that he gave you to kind of, you know, to do that. I just thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. Honestly. You know, every time, you know, I pick up my little Apple Pencil and I'm drawing and whatever, it's almost like I'm channeling that power, you know what I'm saying? That creative dunamis, you know what I'm saying? That just comes into you. It's almost kind of like when Mark was referencing Samson, you know, Samson, you know, he was strong when he was channeling the spirit. You know what I'm saying? And that's the same way I feel. It's like, I feel like I have that same thing, but it's like to my tablet, and it's God taking all of the core material in me and then putting it out on the page. And I feel this more now than even when I was doing my other stuff. Now, Radio Free America wasn't exactly, a Christian story, but of course it had elements of it that could be referenced towards the Bible. But this way more, because it's like I'm taking the word of God. That's amazing. I'm taking the word of God and translating it in a new and different way for a new generation of people.
Mm-hmm.
This may be the only Bible, like you were saying, Nitro, this may be the only Bible that someone will ever read. That's a huge responsibility that Mark and I have taken on in order to usher that into being. And, we're not going to do it halfway. I keep telling Mark this. I'm like, we're going to do it full on, or we're not going to do it. If we don't have the budget to do it, then we just won't do it. You know what I'm saying? And we're talking about doing audio dramas and, ultimately animation and all that other stuff. But it's like, unless the budget is there, unless God provides the budget to do it and do it at a high level, then we won't do it. You know what I'm saying? And my thing is, I'm like, and Mark is right. We pray about everything. We pray like, Lord, are you in this? Is this what you want us to do? Because if it's what you want us to do, you will provide the means to do it and do it well. Not just do it Christian good, but to do it well, so that we can compete with anybody out there.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
I just want to quickly throw in, sorry, just to cut you off there, Mark.
Yeah.
Just it came in the chat a little while ago, but I just wanted to mention it from Rafi, who's been commenting a fair bit. Just he said this a little bit ago. Praise God, I found this stream today. I'm not a comic fan, but this gets me excited. And then he's got a hype emoji next to it. So we're so glad you found us today, Rafi, and so glad you're able to kind of join us for the conversation today. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
But sorry, you were saying, Mark.
I was gonna say there's a word that sort of got us all started with Terminus Media, and that's the word no. Because sometimes you go out there and you're like, hey, this company, how about if I do this for you? No, and you hear no. The entertainment business is a business. It's a very competitive business, and it's a business that when the economy is bad and times are hard, people tend to move towards necessities and food, clothing, shelter, those kind of things, and away from spending the money on entertainment. So it's a very up and down kind of business. But I just encourage everybody, if you get a no, that's one more of those no's that you're going to have to get past to go and do the thing that God has called you to do.
Yeah.
People said no to Jesus all the time. Jesus is like, hey, the rich young ruler's like, hey, Jesus, what do I have to do to be 100% for God? And he goes, go sell everything you have and follow me. And what does he do? He walks away sad, right? Yeah. That wasn't Jesus's prescription for everybody, but for that one guy, his problem was he focused too much on money and material things. That was his problem. What's your problem? What's your excuse? What's my excuse for not doing the things that God has called us to do? If someone tells you no, so what? Who cares? Right. Do your thing, and like Barron said, do your thing every day. This podcast just be the best dang podcast about Christians and comics and the cross that anybody can find anywhere in the world. And you guys are well on your way, and God's going to bless it. And so whatever your thing is, do your thing.
Amen.
And don't accept no, and don't quit. A lot of people, they get a little resistance, they get a little pushback, and they go, well, I guess this isn't what I should be doing because, people are telling me no, and it's hard. Hey, if you want to look for somebody who, like I said, they said no to Jesus all the time, but Jesus knew why he was here, what God had called him to do, and he got about doing that every day, walking around healing people. Healing people and casting out demons every day and preaching. Yeah. That was what Jesus was doing on the daily. So. Amen.
Another thing is, and Mark, you're absolutely right about that. My thing is ultimately when it comes down to doing what we're doing with Terminus Terminus is God-breathed thing. At least Terminus 2.0 is. Because one of the things that we focus on, yes, we definitely focus on good quality projects, good quality product, whatever. But we have to kind of keep things in balance as far as things are concerned. But like with me, you know what I'm saying? I want to make sure that first and foremost, all praises are due to Jesus Christ. Number one. Number two, family. So my wife, you know what I'm saying? That's my second ministry, man.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, have your priorities straight. You know what I'm saying? This is not about, you know, working 80 hours straight just to make a buck. Yeah. If we make money, you know, with Dominion and all this other stuff that we're doing, it's going to help, you know, support our families and all that other stuff. That's good. But I'm not going to do it at the cost of my family. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, you have to have your priorities straight when you do these things. If you have only a little bit of time carved out to work on your passion, that's cool. Work on your passion, but make sure that your other priorities are straight first.
Yeah.
That your relationship with God is straight. Make sure that you are becoming a man after God's own heart, like David. Make sure that you are spending time cultivating your inner life with Him. And then, of course, let that stretch out to your family. Work on being a good husband if you're a husband. Work on being a good dad if you're a father. That stuff is important. That's more important than this other stuff. Once that's straight and your family's healthy and happy, they're going to support you in your vision. And then you'll have plenty of time to work on that. God's economy is not like our man's economy. It's different. Man will think it's backwards, actually, because they're like, well, you're not putting in 100 hours a week to do. No, I'm not. No, I'm putting the bulk of my time into my family, feeding my spirit, making sure I'm a good man, making sure I'm a good husband, making sure I'm a good member of my community. And all that other stuff will eventually feed that passion. And you'll be able to just kind of like ride the wave of that. Amen. And that's why God is turning Terminus around, because our priorities are now straight.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. That's phenomenal to hear.
And over.
So kind of just looking at our time, we're probably kind of coming to the end and closing up on the podcast now. Is there any last thing that either of you gentlemen want to say? And this is a great opportunity to plug Terminus, to plug Dominion, to plug website, social media, whatever you need to, go for it. I'll throw some links up in the chat as well for everyone.
Yeah, the best place to go is terminusmedia.com. And Barron, you want to tell everybody about where we're at in social media?
Yeah, we're at Terminus Media on Twitter. At Dominion Comic on Twitter for Dominion. And then on Instagram, we're dominion.comic on Instagram. At Dominion Comic on Facebook. Our book is coming out August 17th. You can pre-order it now on the website, terminusmedia.com/Dominion. Up there, you are going to see a free 4-page sample. We've given away 4 pages, guys, of our book, so for free. So go on there, get that.
So if you're not sure about this book, guys, go check it
out. No, I mean, if you want to do a pre-order, you can pre-order now at a 10% discount, and then you'll get 6 pages. 6 pages. Nice. Yes. We're very generous at Terminus Media.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, all those links are in the chat. So I've thrown in there the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook. I've also thrown in Barron's YouTube channels on there as well. If you want to go and give that a subscribe, and then also the link to Terminus Media. The link that I put in will take you straight to that pre-order page. Hint, hint. You want to go and get this, guys? Trust me. But yeah, thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on the podcast today.
Really
thank
appreciate
you for
your time.
Latest drawing. I was drawing this while we're on, by the way.
I was gonna ask you what tools. I was gonna ask you what tools you use, but I didn't want to go down that road.
This is iPad Mini. iPad Mini with Procreate, by the way. Procreate is amazing.
I'll tell you what, Nitro. Like, see, when the baby comes near the end of the year, you can host one of the episodes without me and just get Dr. Bell on, and the two of you can just go nuts on all the art talk.
I'll totally do that.
I'm all about it, bro. I'm all about it.
All right,
anytime,
cool.
just call me. Just let me know.
All right, awesome.
I'm serious, by the way. I'm taking time off when my baby comes. So, like, if you want to get him on to do a whole art talk, then go for it by all means.
All right.
All about it.
But thank you so much, gentlemen. We are going to go into talking a little bit about some comic news and some stuff that's happened this week. We would love you guys to stick around, but don't feel that you need to. If you guys have to get off and do anything, or just, I don't want to talk about that, by all means, we are not offended. You can head off. If you want to stay to be part of the conversation, then you guys can definitely hang out. Definitely up to you.
Well, speaking of family, I gotta go deal with my wife. So, guys, thank you so much.
Thanks again, Dr. Bell. I really appreciate it.
Mark, I'll probably give you a call later. Okay.
All right. Thanks for having us on, guys. We really appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Take care, guys. Go and check these amazing men out in Terminus Media and Dominion. You will not be disappointed. Thank you so much for being on, guys.
Thanks
we appreciate
again, guys.
it.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Dude, that was fantastic.
That was amazing. That was such a blast getting to talk to them. In the chat, Cameron saying great podcast, really enjoyed it, and El Tommy, great hearing from them. Yeah, it was phenomenal talking. Like, guys, go and check it out. Like, you will be blown away by the artwork for Dominion.
Dude, I had like 400 questions running through my brain, but I was like, we only have 2 hours.
That's
no way.
That's the thing, though. I kind of stood back because they were talking and getting this stuff out, and I'm loving every part of it. But I kept looking at the time, like, I'm going to need to cut them off at some point. Like,
I know.
And I don't want to, because we need to get them back on at some point. That conversation could have kept going. I'd say that was really amazing, guys. I enjoyed it. Awesome. All right, so we are going to go into rambling about some news. I saved this for the end on purpose this week. I 100% saved this in the end on purpose because I'm thinking, we have stuff. We weren't here last week. I know you guys missed us so much. Of course you did. Your weeks were empty without us, and we're so glad that you're back.
Beautiful faces.
Exactly. You know, it was like Nitro family issues going on. I ended up in the ER. It was a crazy week. You know, I'm not dying, by the way, just to let everyone know. Thank you for all the concern. Everyone like, oh my goodness, why were you at the ER? Because I thought I was having a heart attack, and it turns out I'm fine.
It's funny. It's funny because I had the same thing happen to me like a year or two ago, and I went and got the EKG and everything, and I'm like, yeah, you're fine.
Well, I've got I get like shoulder pain, and it radiates down to my chest all the time. And I was sitting, and it was getting worse, and then all of a sudden I started getting left arm pain, and my wife started taking. She's got like a blood pressure monitor because she's pregnant. She needs to test it at home. So she tested that on me, and it's like 150, and then like she done it like a third time, and it's like 200 something. Like, go to the hospital, you're about to die.
Yeah, right now.
And I went there, and my blood pressure was more. I have high blood pressure. Naturally, I take medication for it. My blood pressure was lower than it has ever been in my life. And I'm like, seriously? I look like I'm just like taking them for a ride with this.
Yeah.
From Burst is saying that was good, man. I think Dominion is a genius adaptation. Yeah, it's Star Wars meets Chronicles of Narnia. Never would I have thought that for that story.
I think for me, like, and it might have sounded like I was stroking Dr. Bell's ego a bit, but like for me, when it comes to comics, art is the most important thing to me.
You're a total man crush.
Second, very closely, is the story. Like, I pick comics because of the art. I'm not ashamed to admit that. But if it happens to have a fantastic story, it's just a win-win for me.
Oh yeah, we've talked about this. You know, it's like we've talked about this. Like, we'll pick up stuff that's got great artwork, but if you if you get something that doesn't matter how good the story is, if you're not a fan of the artwork, it's put me off books before.
Yeah, I'll be straight up. When you shared Dominion with me and you told me it was a Christian comic, I'm like, ugh. Because I just have not.
Christian comics suck. Most Christian comics absolutely suck. Like, I'm not a fan of them. I
have not had good experience with Christian comics. And then when I actually saw the art, I was like, dude, this looks fantastic.
It does. So, all right, let's hit some news then as we talk to people. So the first big bit of news I've got to talk about, there's a couple of things I'm going to kind of hit that aren't like massive talking points. Like, first off, we've got the Eternals from Marvel. Apparently we're meant to be getting a sneak peek this month.
I'll believe it when I see it.
I was hoping that by the time we got to today, we would have heard more news on that. We have literally heard nothing else apart from it's coming soon, and it's believed to be coming this month.
Marvel is teasing the Black Knight, too. Like they've been teasing him on their channel, like they're gonna be releasing the Eternal something, and they're gonna tease him, or I don't know what that's all about.
I don't know what this sneak peek's going to be and what it's going to incorporate, but apparently it's coming this month. So, but
apparently they.
I want to throw that out because it's. I want to throw it out because it's news, but like, there's literally nothing to talk about because it's like, oh, the sneak peek's coming. We knew that.
Yeah, the thing is, apparently they had the trailer ready for Black Widow, and Black Widow was supposed to come out back in April or May. Mm-hmm. So the Eternals trailer is done. I mean, let's be honest. Filming is done. The trailer's done. Let's just get it out there. Come on, man.
Just get it out. We know it's delayed. Just give it to us. Why not?
Yeah, just give it to us.
All right. Second big thing that's been announced, with not that much else to it at this point, is that on HBO Max we are going to be getting a Batman spin-off series.
Yawn.
This Batman spin-off series is going to focus on the GCPD and is going to be a prequel to the Batman movie that's filming with Robert Pattinson.
Yawn.
That's called Gotham. We just did that.
Guys, you have such rich characters in Batman. Stop trying to make spin-offs. Use the characters that exist.
But we literally got... How long was Gotham? 5 seasons? I want to say 5. It's like...
How long did it take them to give Commissioner Gordon a mustache? Come on now. They can't even get that right.
I know. It's like, but you know what I mean, though? It's like we just did this. Like, the GCPD is like, okay. It's like, I was going to say that. Like, yeah, it's like, they're literally just doing, hey, let's do Gotham again. But this one's going to be ours because for some reason we gave the other one to Fox. Which, like, jokingly, by the way, technically now, Disney owns Gotham. Because it bought out Fox.
Did Fox did that? Oh, that's hilarious.
So technically, Disney at least have a partial ownership over Gotham, which I find hysterical.
That's hilarious.
So like, I would put that in Hulu just for the hell of it. Like, we own Hulu, throw it on there. I would literally just do that. If I was them, I would totally.
We have a better Gotham Police Department show. It's on Disney Plus.
I would literally do that. Just throw it on Hulu or Disney Plus. Like, here's Gotham. But the thing is, we've got no other information on it other than it's a prequel to like Batman, and I'm like, I like Commissioner Gordon. He's a great character.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch a show based around the GCPD. If I'm going to watch something Batman related, I want to watch Batman or at least a member of the Bat family.
Yeah.
Give me Nightwing, or give me Red Hood, or give me the Teen Titans or Young Justice with Tim Drake in it. Give me something.
I feel like Sony has the same type of like spin-off fever. Hey, we can't get our main characters right, so let's do some spin-offs and screw those up too.
I know.
Like, just get your main characters right first with a couple of IPs or whatever, and then maybe think about doing some spin-off stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, sorry. That's a spot.
Yeah, there's nothing else to that. This news, though, I definitely wanted to talk about, because if you go back 2 weeks ago, we kind of talked about the anniversary of the Power Rangers movie. And we also talked about, with people in chat, they were asking about, has there been any news on the new Power Rangers movie, or if there is going to be another one, you know, based off of the reboot that they did.
Mm-hmm.
Which we said that we were kind of fans of it. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't awful. Like, I wasn't bothered by it. I was like, yeah, it's enjoyable. Illuminati, which I'm kind of jealous I didn't use that name for anything at some point. Illuminati.
Really good name.
Yeah, came out with this, with some statements on it. I don't know how verified these are, but apparently some stuff's leaked of what they were planning for the next one. They said, we previously heard that time travel was involved, and it seems to be the case still. According to a report, a new team of Rangers will be transported by Zordon to that beloved era, which I'm assuming means like the 1990s era for Mighty Morphin, to face Lord Zedd.
Uh-oh.
But those aren't the only details we got. The report states that all new Ranger team will not necessarily be limited to 5 Rangers, and it will include an original lineup of heroes. Hasbro is also looking to create a truly diverse cast which will include different races and members of the LGBTQ plus community. The report also states that there are plans to cast a female lead. In the script's current state, Lord Zedd is the villain of the film, which, if you know me with Power Rangers, I love Lord Zedd. He's an amazing villain,
cool design.
Which was created just for the American one. He does not exist in Super Sentai.
Did not know that.
He is just an American villain. I love Lord Zedd so much. He was a
He's
great
cool
villain.
Design, man.
The design of him is like, he's the coolest villain they ever had.
Let's that guy and let's remove all his skin and put a chrome helmet on him with a red visor. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and it looks so awesome as well. It's like he's got feeding tubes on him and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
it's sick. It's awesome.
Looks so good. It's a villain of the film, and the movie will feature several different looks for the Ranger suits and the Zords in Ranger history. Last bit of news of the film is potentially shooting in New Zealand, which is where the show typically films now.
Mm-hmm. Classic suit from the 90s or Get Out. Get Out.
Yeah. Cameron saying time travel scares me. It's so hard to tell those stories well. It is, but the thing is, if they get it right, it could be an amazing story. Like the fact that they're going to do Lord Zedd and the fact that they're doing like another Ranger team, like it means like the main team's not going to focus necessarily on like our original Rangers like the other movie, but they could still feature because this other team, kind of like a Time Force thing where the Rangers went back in time and met other Rangers, you know?
Yeah, like that. I mean, that's a good question. Are we talking Avengers Endgame time travel, or are we talking Back to the Future time travel? Because two totally different things, obviously.
Yeah, it's like that. Is it like Doctor Who, where you go back in time and it doesn't matter what you do because everything is like just fine and everything just kind of readjusts back to the way it was? Or is it like Back to the Future, like you do one thing and everything changes?
And now Biff owns Las Vegas and he's turned it into
yeah,
a heck hole.
I'm hyped for this, by the way. I'm excited for this storyline because it sounds like they've put a lot of thought into it. They're trying to do something different with it that we've not really seen from Power Rangers movies. I'd be up for seeing it. I'd be up for checking it out personally.
Yeah, I'm either way.
I mean,
I enjoyed the remake. There were certain aspects I was not a huge fan of.
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
I enjoyed the remake for what it was.
I mean, I enjoyed it enough. I enjoyed it enough to trust them and give it a go.
Yeah.
I give it a go. I'm not saying it's going to be phenomenal, but like, yeah, I'd go see it and check it out.
Yeah,
why not? At the very least, I'd rent it. You know, I'd Redbox it at least. You know.
Yeah.
Or well, probably stream it at this point. You don't Redbox things now because you know disease.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was an interesting one. I just wanted to mention because we kind of talked about it last week. But I'd be up for it. I don't know about you guys in chat if it's something you'd check in if you're Rangers fans or not. But like, I'd be giving it a go.
Yeah, I'd check it out.
Okay, so like the announcements just kept coming fast and furious this week. So let me talk about, I've got a show announcement and then we also had 2 casting announcements. One of them which was massive that dropped last night. And then we also had 2 comic announcements which are freaking insane that these were announced.
You're going to have to walk me through the casting announcement because I'm not familiar with who that is or how they play into the universe. So
even with that massive one, I don't know all the characters. I've only just started the Invincible stuff, but we'll get to that. But like the actors that are involved are enough to like get me okay, because like it's a freaking huge like names that they've got for it, which I did not expect.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that one last because that's kind of the big one. So the first big one that was announced, I don't know a massive amount of the comic, so I wanted to just throw this out there though because I do know the character. Usagi Yojimbo, a comic book character, anthropomorphic rabbit who's a samurai. If you were
Turtles, right?
Yeah, if you were a fan of like the Turtles 1980s, 1990s era, grew up in that.
Yep.
He didn't appear in the show, I don't think, but there was definitely toys of him.
I had the toy. I totally remember.
There was definitely toys like under like Turtles merchandise.
Yeah.
Of the samurai rabbit.
Yeah.
He has been in a comic like since forever. Like forever ago. I don't even know when the comics initially came out, but like they were with IDW and with Dark Horse. I think they're with Dark Horse right now. Like they've changed publishers and stuff. And it's a story of this Ronin, like samurai with no master, but it's in a world of anthropomorphic creatures.
Oh yeah, that sounds awesome.
So Netflix, in their amazing bid to like buy up everything, I mean they've been buying up stuff like we talked about Umbrella Academy, we've talked about Lock and Key.
Yeah.
If you've not watched The Old Guard, which is based on Greg Pak's Old Guard comic, the movie that dropped with Charlize Theron as the lead in it, go check it out. It's a phenomenal action movie.
I started watching it the other night, but I haven't finished it.
It's a great action movie. It's not phenomenal, but like action movie standards, like yeah, it's good. It's got a great story. These eternal warriors that have existed for millennia, some of them, and it's like go check it out. In the bid to like buy up all this stuff, they also bought up Usagi Yojimbo. It's been called Samurai Rabbit: The Usagi Chronicles, and it's going to be an animated series coming to Netflix.
Nice.
We don't know anything of the casting yet. We don't know the release date of it, but they've officially announced this is happening. I don't know the rating. You know, it's a samurai thing, so I don't know if this is going to be kind of more friendly, child-friendly stuff, you know, family-friendly, or if it's going to go full samurai and we're going to see, like, you know, limbs coming off, blood spurting, decapitations, you know. I don't know because I don't know the comics. I'm not a big reader of Usagi Yojimbo. I've never really tried to get into it. Like, I enjoy Japanese culture, but I've never dove into that. It's something I probably do need to dive into at some point. So I don't know what to expect, personally.
See, and that's something. So coming from an anime background, and I'm not going to be professed to be the all-knowing person in this aspect, but
on this show you are, man. In this show you're better than me. Like, you're definitely an anime guy.
Coming from that background and liking the more like period type and specific animes like Samurai X and Ninja Scroll and things like that, I love samurai anything. Like, I love there's a movie called 13 Assassins where it's about this village that hires this group of 13 Ronin to guard against an army. I love samurai in general. So this is like right up my alley. I love this stuff.
Yeah, so that's definitely coming to Netflix. I don't know when yet. We'll keep you updated, guys, on the date for that. But I wanted to make an announcement for it because, like, the character's a cool character. The guy that's been writing it has been writing it the whole time. This is like one of these passion projects. This is his baby. This is his, you know, character. You can definitely check it out. He's available on Amazon and stuff. You can get collected volumes and stuff like that of it. So I might be looking into that myself just to try and get some stuff.
What's it called again?
Usagi Yojimbo. I'll put the spell in the chat.
Yeah, I want to check that out. And do you know who the creator is again?
I cannot remember his name.
Okay, I'll look.
But he's like the only writer of it. So if you find like a thing for it, like, it's him.
Got it.
It's like it's been the one creator behind it. So definitely go check out the comics, guys. Just literally put in Usagi Yojimbo into Amazon, put in like volume 1, and you'll get like the collections, the first sets. So like, it's definitely worth checking out. I've got a feeling I've got Nitro into this, so he might be the one.
Yeah, I'm already looking at it. I got it up on Amazon already, man. You know me.
You know, he might be the one giving you the review in this before I am. Which, if you know us, that's a rarity. Usually I'm the one delving into all the indie stuff and looking at all the other like unusual things. But I think this one might be Nitro's.
Yeah, it's right up my alley, man. I love this type of stuff.
All right, let's do one of the casting announcements before I talk about the comics. So the first casting announcement, randomly out of nowhere, Noah Centineo, I don't even know him from anything, at least as far as I'm aware, has apparently been cast as Atom Smasher in the Black Adam movie. So Atom Smasher's a character that can like reshape his body and grow it and shrink it and all these different things, and like apparently he's going to be in the Black Adam movie. Which,
I don't know anything about Black Adam. I'll be straight up.
I don't know if Atom Smasher's got a connection to Black Adam. There isn't one that I know of. But I'm kind of like, okay, let me put it this way. We've known for about a decade that The Rock's going to be playing Black Adam at this point. Like, he announced it like forever ago.
It's been 82 years.
It's like forever ago he announced it, and I'm like, never in my life did I think the second casting announcement for Black Adam was going to be Atom Smasher.
Yeah.
Some like C-list, D-list villain. Like, okay. But then again, personally, I still stand by the point there shouldn't be a Black Adam movie.
No.
It's like, he's an anti-hero. No, he's not. He's Shazam's villain.
Black Adam is the yin to Shazam's yang. I mean, let's be sure. I know that much.
Yeah, it's like, the only reason he's getting his own movie is because The Rock said he wanted to play Black Adam over Shazam.
Literally the only reason. Literally.
Yeah, that's it. When you're The Rock and you're that big of a name, you get to make calls like that. That's literally the guy who was on Flash. Yeah, see if you watched The Flash on the CW. Funnily enough, mentioning The Rock, Atom Smasher was actually played on the Flash TV show by Adam Copeland, better known as Edge from WWE.
Really?
Yeah. Very briefly in the random time he was in it. He was in the show. It was played by Edge. For all the wrestling fans that are in chat, I know there's a few of you. So yeah, that's the guy. If you know him, like the guy the Flash defeated in that, he's going to be in the Black Adam movie. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. You've been talking about Black Adam for forever. I still don't know what's happening in this movie.
Just let me know when you started filming. Then let's talk.
Yeah, let me know when you've got a story. I don't even know if there's a story for this yet. I'm like, all right. Comic news. We are a comic book show. Let's talk about actual comics.
How dare you
talk
about comics?
Oh, you'll like these. Yeah, Bursty says I'm excited for about Black Adam. I'm excited as far as I can be, considering the only thing I know about it is that The Rock's playing Black Adam and this Noah Centineo is playing Atom Smasher. That's literally all we know about the movie. So in terms of that, I'm like, yeah, I'm excited. I'd be much more excited if he was in Shazam and we got to see him and Zachary Levi like face off.
Yeah.
I'm much more excited for that idea, but you know, that's just me. Because Black Adam's a cool character. Like I want to see him on screen. I don't think he deserves a movie.
No.
You know?
Not a movie to itself. Yeah. No.
But yeah, so the first announcement, out of nowhere, DC Black Label is basically non-canon books of DC where they can go over the top, they can do more adult themes, they can do all this stuff, and it's under the Black Label. Apparently, even though Three Jokers is apparently within the continuity, even though it's Black Label, and where they decided Batman's junk can't be shown because we're adult, but we're not that adult. Have announced they're going to be doing a Rorschach comic.
They are milking that Watchmen stuff, man.
It's a sequel to Watchmen set 35 years, so like modern like length past when Watchmen happened. That's all they've announced on it. Like, is this going to be like, is it actually Rorschach? Because Rorschach dies at the end of Watchmen. You know, spoilers for a comic that came out in the 80s. Rorschach dies.
Yeah.
Manhattan, you know, wipes him out.
Yeah.
And
he makes a Rorschach.
In Doomsday Clock, like, we get another guy that takes on the Rorschach mantle. You know, it's like, for anyone that read Doomsday Clock, if you didn't, I don't blame you. It was pointless. It was like 2.5 years of build up to get out a 12-issue story that by the time it came out didn't matter.
Yeah.
Except to say, hey, Dr. Manhattan's touched this universe and to give Wally West new powers. That's literally it. But like, so like they've announced nothing else, though. They've not announced anything else about it. They've not even announced the team on it, I don't think, just that it's going to be a Black Label. It's going to be a sequel to the comic, as far as I know, the original Alan Moore comic, which, if you know Alan Moore, he's probably loving this. Which, you know, it's like everyone like gets on Alan Moore for like how much he acts now and he hates the comic book business and all that stuff. I was like, I don't blame him. Have you seen what DC's done to his stuff?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like they can't leave.
I mean, he created it, so I mean, he has the right to be like that.
Yeah, they can't leave Watchmen alone, because first it was before Watchmen, like the origin stories of all these characters and stories before Watchmen. Then it was like the movie, which he wasn't a fan of because they had to take liberties with stuff and change stuff in his story. It was never meant to be like that. It was meant to be a comic. I'm not gonna lie, like I enjoyed the Watchmen HBO show. I was a big fan of that. If you've got the opportunity to see that, I think it's on HBO Max now.
I haven't watched it.
So, yeah, if you've got HBO Max, you can check it out. I don't think it's on Hulu anymore. I think it was only for a short while and they pulled it. But if you've got HBO Max or the HBO app, you can watch it there. And it's an interesting show. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was an interesting take on it. I never really understood the movie. It's like, yeah, it's like Watchmen's one of those freaky stories. And the honest truth is the comics is even freakier, really.
Yeah, I tried to read the comic and I was like, "Oh, all right."
But again, it's like it's one of those comics. It changed the comic book world.
Yeah.
So
Took it serious.
I don't know where they're going to go with a Rorschach comic. Like they're going with Rorschach. Do you know what the funny thing is? They're pushing Rorschach as a character because he's the most popular character from Watchmen. Yeah. He's the big one. He's not meant to be a hero. If you've ever, like, I saw somebody putting up something that Alan Moore had said about Rorschach. Like, Alan Moore doesn't understand why Rorschach's so popular.
Yeah. Because
he literally says the whole design of Rorschach and the way he is like, this is literally what I think Batman would be like in real life.
Mm-hmm.
This is like if someone went full vigilante vigilante, full over the edge. This is what I think they would be like. They wouldn't care about people. They would block themselves off from everything. Chances are it's like he never takes the mask off. He eats, beans out of a can. He's probably not showered for a lengthy period of time because personal hygiene is not a big deal. It's like, this is what it would really be like in real life. Like, he would go over the edge and he would be a nut job.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone went, oh, I love Rorschach, I'm just like him. And Alan Moore's like, that's not a good thing. Stay away from me.
Yeah.
That's not an okay thing. He's not meant to be emulated. Burst is saying the show was amazing in my opinion, and the movie was like, okay. Yeah, I mean, the movie did a good job for what it had to work with. Like, trying to fit Watchmen into a movie was going to be tough.
Yeah.
It did a decent job,
And I didn't really understand the movie a whole lot either. There were aspects where I was like, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I'm like, they did an okay job with it, but like, I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I thought it was a great sequel, and it's a sequel to the comic. It's not a sequel to the movie, which is a big thing you need to know going into the show, because the ending of the movie is different from the ending of the comic.
Yeah.
And they change aspects of it, so like, if you don't know the ending of the comic, like, you'll be like, what the hell's going on? Why is there a giant squid on New York?
Yeah.
It's like, so that's coming out, and I need to go to my phone for this one to pull this up because I want to get the details of it. Boom Studios announced a new comic they're going to be releasing soon. Apparently it's been getting worked on for a while, and it's going to be written by Keanu Reeves.
Dude, I saw that.
And it's called Berserker.
Without the vowels.
But it's like BRZRKR is the spelling of it, and the character is a berserker. Apparently he's been working on this for a while. Like, when he was working on the set of Matrix 4, he was like Skyping with the artist and stuff like that. Where is it? This fall, Keanu Reeves will make his debut in the comic book writer with Boom Studios' original series Berserker. And his hyper-violent story about an ancient immortal warrior could very well lead to a big screen adaptation with him in the lead role. Which is probably why the Berserker looks like him.
So it's funny because people were talking about this, and they were like, "So it's basically an autobiography."
Yeah, see, like that's a picture of the Berserker.
They were like, "It's a 90,000-year-old immortal who's skilled in martial arts." So they're like, "Oh, yeah, it's basically an autobiography of Keanu Reeves."
Yeah, and it's like, so, and his hyper-violent story, the ancient immortal warrior, blah blah blah. I read that bit. USA Today broke the news of a popular actor and beloved human being's first comic, Berserker, from Boom Studios. Reeves is co-writing the limited 12-issue series with Mark Lint from Super Spy, Folklords Bang. He's a well-known comic writer. Alessandro Vitti from Marvel Secret Warriors is illustrating. Bill Crabtree from BRPD will serve as colorist, and Clem Robbins from Hellboy is letter. The comic will follow a hyper-violent 80,000-year-old warrior whose father was a war god. This immortal being has walked a blood-soaked path across the world for centuries, fighting in countless wars. But in the present day, where he has to hide his identity, the Berserker does dangerous jobs for the US government in exchange for the truth about his existence. He also bears an unmistakable resemblance to the famous actor. Writing the comic, that's definitely not a coincidence. The project began when Reeves met with Boom Studios last year about creating an original material that could one day end up being adapted. So if this series does ever move to the big screen, we probably don't have to fantasy cast the lead.
That's absolutely going to happen.
Oh yeah, especially like how like crazy everyone is over Keanu Reeves these days.
Dude,
like,
he's so hot right now, like in the business. It's gonna happen. I mean, he is hot too. I'm gonna be straight up.
You sounded totally like a teenage high schooler. He's so hot right now.
Well, he is hot. I'll be the first to admit that. If I look like Keanu Reeves,
the hands are so
I would
hot
not
right
complain.
now.
I'll just put it that way. I would not complain.
Well, yeah, because you wouldn't have aged in the last 20 years.
Exactly. Immortal, hello, autobiography.
Burst is saying, oh yeah, I read about that today. It's like, yeah. So like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm all about checking this out. Keanu Reeves is writing a comic for Boom, and it's for Boom Studios. Like, he's going into this, he's working with a real comic writer, co-writing it with them, real comic artist and inker and letterer, working for Boom Studios, which is a fairly big comic company, one of the probably top 5 comic book companies in the world right now. Doing some amazing properties from them. I'm up for checking this out. That sounds intriguing.
I'm down.
I'm down to give it a go. Like, you know, it's like, especially like you're saying your thing for samurai. Like, that's what it sounds like to me, an 80,000-year-old, you know, berserker warrior. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm up for checking it out. And it's a 12-issue miniseries, so it's like it's going to be a one and done. If it does okay, I'll probably get more after that if it does well.
Yeah.
But I'm all about this, actually. I think this could be interesting. Like, I was shocked when it said, like, Keanu Reeves is writing it. I'm like, Keanu Reeves is writing a comic? I'm like, okay, it just seems so bizarre and out there, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm intrigued enough to check it, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, that was the two big comic ones, some Rorschach and some Berserker, which I'm like, that's not bad comic book announcements.
No, not at all. I'm a little like meh on the Watchmen one, the Rorschach whatever, just because I feel like they're just milking that for all it's worth.
Yeah, it feels like I'll probably check it out to see like what they do with it. Like I want to see issue 1 just to see where the story's like leading, just to know about it. But like I'm not hyper into it, to be honest. I'm like, you're just, again, it's just you're milking this. Like Watchmen was meant to be a one and done story.
Yeah,
it was never meant to have a carry on. That's why Alan Moore never wrote any more of it. Alright, let me grab something for this last announcement. I want to get the comic. Let me get it off my shelf.
I'm just gonna sit here in silence, everyone. Sit here in silence. Does the comedian appear in Watchmen TV show? I don't know. I've only seen the first episode or two, and it seemed pretty cool. But then the HBO subscription that I was borrowing got removed. So we're talking about the Watchmen show. Ads was asking if a comedian appears.
Comedian does not appear because Comedian is dead. Comedian dies in the first Watchmen, and in this timeline, he was never. Unlike what they did in Doomsday Clock, where like, oh, we can save Comedian and do some stuff with him. I'm like, no, they didn't save him in the show. He's still dead. Although, like, half of the Watchmen do appear, to some extent. No, it's like if you want to watch it, I don't want to give spoilers for who shows up and who doesn't, but like you'll see some of the original Watchmen cast. So the comic I wanted to grab was Invincible. This is as far as I've read, is volume 1. I have not dove any deeper into this. So for this casting announcement, I can't actually tell who half these people are, the character-wise, but the fact of who's playing them is kind of amazing. So it was a Skybound Expo. Was it yesterday, I think? Yesterday, the day before. Robert Kirkman, who's one of the owners of Skybound, most people know him from writing the Walking Dead comics. He's also the writer of Invincible. They've been working on an Invincible show for a while. Apparently this is going to be an animated show and it's coming to Amazon Prime. And he just dropped like 16 casting announcements. Half of the people I don't even know, some of them. I seen it today. It might have been you who shared it. Yeah, I shared it. I shared like pictures of the actors and the characters. Like that took me forever to do last night, trying to get all that information.
Can you give me the premise of the show or the book?
Yeah. So the premise of the book, like, here's the reading right off the back of it. Mark Grayson, so he's Invincible. It's just like most everyone else his age. He's a senior at normal American high school. He's a crappy part-time job after school and on weekends. He likes girls quite a bit, but he doesn't quite understand them. Enjoys hanging out with his friends and sleeping late on Saturdays, at least until the good cartoons come on. The only difference between Mark and everyone else is that his father is the most powerful superhero on the planet, and as of late, he seems to be inheriting his father's powers.
Huh.
So, basically it's a world where superheroes definitely exist. Superheroes are there, and his father is like full-blown superhero. His mom isn't, but like they talk and stuff like that, and his dad has to disappear to go and fight stuff, and has fought like aliens and monsters, and it's part of basically their world's like Justice League. And the start of the story is basically Mark starts to inherit his father's powers and starts to has to go, and it's a story of him going and getting his costume, picking his name. He is Invincible, that's his name. He meets like other teen heroes, starts to team up with them a little bit, and it's a story of his journey being a superhero. The interesting thing about the Invincible, I think there's like 32 volumes of this.
Holy crap.
But it's a complete story. It isn't like a whole thing like where you go through like, you know, Batman, like they reboot it every so often and like it's now in modern times and it's now like this. No, he grows up, he gets married, he has a kid who starts to get powers, he starts to do all this, and he like grows. So like he's a teenager now, so he's like in his 30s, I think, by the time it ends.
Yeah.
So like it's literally the progression of him as a hero and him as his normal life, and it's like it's such a cool concept. I do know some spoilers for future stuff that I've not read yet. I'm not going to share it. If you want to go and check it out, go and check out Invincible. And trust me, the spoilers I don't want to say, because if you read them and see what happens in the comic, it's going to some of it just blows your mind. It's phenomenal. So they're doing an animated series of this, and they announced some massive stuff. So first of all, the first announcement was Stephen Yeun, if I'm saying his name right, is playing Mark Grayson. Most people know him as Glenn on The Walking Dead. So he's playing Invincible, so the main character. J.K. Simmons is going to be voicing Nolan Grayson, his father. So the other big superhero that he's inheriting his powers off of. Sandra Oh is playing Deborah Grayson, his mother. Gillian Jacobs is playing Atom Eve, his kind of love interest. So if you see the girl in pink on the back there. I have no idea who Gillian Jacobs is. I cannot find her on social media and find out information about this woman. I do not know who she is. Mark Hamill is playing a character called Art. I don't know who Art is, but Mark Hamill's apparently doing a voice in it, so I'm all for that. Zazie Beetz is playing Amber Bennett. Zazie Beetz, most people will know from playing Domino in Deadpool 2. Carrie Payton is playing Black Samson. He's best known as playing, what's his name? Is it Ezekiel from The Walking Dead? The black guy with the dreadlocks that had the tiger.
Yeah.
Most people will know him from that, I believe. Walton Goggins is Cecil Stedman. Walton Goggins, another big name. Zachary Quinto is playing Robot. Zachary Quinto, obviously known from Heroes and from Star Trek. I don't even know if I can say this guy's name. I don't even know who he is. Chris Diamantopoulos as Doc Seismic.
Sounds right.
Jason Mantzoukas as Rex Splodes, which is like the best name ever for a hero. Rex Splodes. I love it. Grey Griffin, who's a phenomenal like voiceover actress. You've probably heard her voice in a ton of cartoon shows, a ton of animated stuff. Is playing Shrinking Ray and Monster Girl, and when she's in her girl form. Melise, no idea who she is, but she's doing the voice of Duplicate, which I love that name, because it's like Dupla-Kate, so it's Duplicate. Nice. Andrew Rannells playing William Clockwell, like no idea who he is. Kevin Michael Richardson is playing Mauler 1 and Mauler 2, and then also the voice of Monster Girl in the monster form. And then last announcement is Seth Rogen is going to be playing Alan the Alien.
Nice.
That's insane. Like, that's a phenomenal cast list. Like, there's some big names there, like big name actors, big name animated stars. A couple of people I don't know in it, but like some of the names that are in it are awesome. So yeah, go and check that out on our social media, because like the list is too long for me to paste in chat. But there's our socials. Go and check it out in the socials. See the pictures of the actors. You might recognize a bunch of them. I've shared it on like any of them, so whatever social media you follow us on. So like it's telling me they're going all out for this. Like Invincible.
I'm down, man.
Invincible is a well worth comic. If you guys have not read this, you want reading recommendations? Well, I'll give you Usagi Yojimbo Invincible. Like, I picked this up like a couple of years ago when I went to Wizard World here in Richmond, because I heard someone talking about how good it was, and I really love it. I mean, the artwork and stuff, and it's phenomenal. Like, even just basic stuff. Let me try and get a good screen. Like, it's because some of it's so basic. Like, it's just blank backgrounds and some stuff. There's not like massive amounts of color, so like it focuses so much on the character. But then, like, you get to later pages and you get, you know.
Yeah, I might have to borrow that from you, Cross.
Yeah, I'll definitely give you a loan of it, man. It's like, and it's in my list to pick up volume 2 of it. You know, it's like, so even like nighttime scenes when he's out flying.
That's cool. I like the aesthetic.
You know, it's a really cool, really interesting aesthetic. And then, of course, you get like normal school shots, which are done pretty decently as well. the artwork's it's pretty sweet. It's not like phenomenal over the top artwork. Like it's like we were talking about Dominion. Like I love this picture for the cover of chapter 3.
Yeah.
Him and his dad fighting off a bunch of aliens.
Definitely looks like J.K. Simmons.
You know what I mean? Like J.K. Simmons. I'm like, yeah, you could play that.
Yeah, that's him. Pretty
much. It's like, and that's it. And it's all voiceover. It's gonna be so like 100%, guys, go and check out Invincible Volume 1. Like I said, there's 32 volumes, but it's like if you start reading and collecting it, that's it. It's stopped. It's done. I think it's Ryan Stegman that does the artwork. No, it's not Stegman on this one. It's Walker. It's the last name of the guy that does the artwork. But Ryan Stegman, I believe, takes over the artwork at a certain point. And he's most recently was working on Spider-Man, I believe, with Nick Spencer. During his run, I believe it was Stegman that was doing that. So yeah, definitely go and check it out. And if you've got Amazon Prime, then keep an eye out for this. We don't have a release date for it yet, because they've obviously just announced the casting, so they've not actually recorded yet. But yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that. That was a massive like bunch of names for them to just drop. Like you could have just done like 5 of those names. I mean, like Stephen Yeun, J.K. Simmons, Sandra Oh, Mark Hamill, Walton Goggins, Seth Rogen. Like 6 of those names are like proper big name actors that people will recognize off the bat. Zazie Beetz has become a massive name. Carrie Payton's becoming a big name. Zachary Quinto is well known in geek community. Greg Griffin's known for voiceover act. Like I mean, it's a phenomenal casting for it. So like I'm hyped for it. I'm hyped to see what they do with this show. Like, and I definitely want to get more into the comics. I definitely want to get into like volume 2 and 3 and keep going with it and see what they do with it. It's definitely worth checking out. But yeah, I think that was most of my news for this week then. But like I said, there was so much news.
It was a lot.
So much stuff happened this week. Like even that one with Invincible, that literally dropped last night, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm struggling to fit this stuff in, and you've dropped another massive thing for it.
Maybe by next week we'll have an Eternals trailer. Maybe.
You won't be here to talk about it though, but that's a good segue.
I'll be supporting you from far.
So that's a good segue though, actually, to our upcoming shows. Let me talk about that quickly. So for 3 out of the next 4 weeks, Nitro's abandoning us. He's going away and daring to take a vacation and spend time with his family.
How dare I?
All that sort of stuff. How dare he abandon all you lovely people. But we've got some amazing guests coming on to help me out. So next week, as we mentioned, let me do a shout out here for One Geek 411, because they actually have a Twitch channel. Oh, there's Cameron popping in. Check that out, because I believe they're going to start live streaming their stuff on there as well, like their podcasts and stuff. You can find their podcasts on Spotify, iTunes, all the good places that you find podcasts. And also find their social media. I don't have a link for the social media stuff, but I'll definitely go ahead and get that sorted for next week so we can do that properly for them. So they're going to be coming on, and they're actually going to be talking with me about the MCU Phase 2. So we're looking forward to having them on the show. We're looking forward to doing a bit of conversation with them. It's a group that I definitely enjoy. Yeah, if you've got the links, Cameron, by all means, go for it. You can go ahead and drop them in chat, and I'll tell Skeets to not get rid of them. Which he will probably do, because he's a jackass like that.
I know, right? What a jerk.
He really is. But yeah, so it's like we've got them coming on the show. I'm a fan of their podcast. I love listening to their conversations, their different stuff, their different takes on things. They're really great with 4 different personalities talking on different conversations. So like I'm really excited to get the chance to know them on stream a little bit more. Just watched the first 4 movies for Phase 2. Got 2 more to do. Yeah. Well, that's my job for this week. I'm going to be binging like 6 movies.
See what we mean though. Skeets just.
What the heck did you do, Bob? Because apparently Skeets deleted everything that you. I am so sorry, Cameron. He has timed you out. I don't know why.
It's because he's a jerk. Skeetsbots is a jerk.
He is. I don't know.
He's a big meanie. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, like,
I'm not sure if I like him or not.
Okay, I'll set up a thing for that, because I'm still working on Skeets. He's very temperamental. He's new. We've only had him. This is only his 2nd week working. So like he's very temperamental.
Still part time.
So
give him 15-minute breaks.
Yeah. So following that week, Nitro will be back. And we're going to be doing part 3 of our talk of the early 2000s movies, the one that we missed last week. We're going to be talking about Daredevil, Elektra, and if we've got time, we'll talk about Ghost Rider. I want to throw 3 out there, but going by how our Fantastic Four talk went, we got through 2 movies and weren't able to do Superman Returns, really.
We always think that we're not going to be able to fill the time with the topic that we have, and we always end up going more than we thought we would do.
Oh, yeah, well,
because we like to talk.
We're like 2.5 hours already. Like, that's why I'm doing all the
This is the longest
stuff.
podcast we've ever done.
Yeah, this is like ridiculously long. So he's going to be back to talk about that. Then, and that's the first week of August. Then the next 2 weeks in August, he is not going to be here. For that first week, I'm actually, this first time announcing these 2 weeks because I've confirmed these people finally. For that second week, which I think is the 9th of August, let me double check that.
Yes, it is.
For the 9th of August, we actually have a former guest of the show, Lewis Southard, who we talked to about villain seeking heroes. You can see that on our YouTube channel. He came on and talked about that. He's actually coming on to guest host with me, and we're still working out what we're going to be talking about. But he's going to come on and just chat with me for a couple of hours and just hang out and talk to all you lovely people. So I'm so excited that Lewis is coming back on for that. I just thought, hey, you know what would be really cool to get him back on and just chat with him. Because if you watch that episode, there's a lot of us just chatting.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the following week, the 16th, we're going to be talking with Isaac from the Infinity Bros. He is coming on again. Isaac's again a previous guest on the podcast. He came on to talk to us about the MCU Phase 1 movies, and he's going to be coming on to talk to us about the Amazing Spider-Man movies, the Andrew Garfield ones. We tried to get him on the show to talk about the Sam Raimi trilogy a few weeks ago, but it was too short notice and we didn't really get enough time for it. So I said, yeah, you definitely come on and talk about that, and he's going to be coming on and guest host with me that week, so we're going to be talking about the Amazing Spider-Man movies. So we've got an amazing couple of weeks kind of lined up, with Nitro not being here. We tried to give you guys a little bit of variety, a little bit of guest hosting and different topics. So that's what to expect from the next few weeks, guys.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Alright, so let's do our typical. Let's go ahead and see if we can raid someone. To end us out,
just want to give a real shout out to Jim Lee. I love you, boo.
Yeah, because Jim Lee's a big watcher of the podcast.
Absolutely. Every week, man.
He just lurks in chat and just listens to us. Let me see who's on. I don't even know who's on Sundays. That's the problem. Like, half the people I watch don't stream on a Sunday, so like it's really hard to go ahead and like drop them something. Let's do Boz, Pastor Boz from God Squad Church. We can do him, or we can do Gid Kid Dad, who we've shouted out to before. Let's do Pastor Boz. Let's do Boz because we've not done him before. BOZGS. It's alright. Alright, so we're going to try and link over to raid Pastor Boz. So go ahead, give him a lot of love, give him a lot of shout out, guys. Give him a lot of love. Drop him some follows. Boz. Alright. But we're going to sign off, guys. We hope you had an amazing week, and we will see you all next week at our usual time of 2 o'clock with me and OneGeek411.
Adios, muchachos.
Take care.
See you guys.